is suing her former neighbor, Sahara Carrillo, for vet bills after a dog attack.
Judy enters.
Court come to order. All rise.
Have a seat, please.
Kevin.
Hello, Judge. Case number 2042, Highland versus Carrillo.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Judy turns to Nanette.
Tell me your dog's name.
Faith,
How old is Faith?
11,
How long have you had her, Miss Highland?
since she was 5 weeks old.
When did you live next door to the defendant?
Yeah, it was across the way, but
It's across?
yeah, my side of the door faced her side of the door, and there was a grassy knoll in between.
Do you have a photograph of the area?
No, I don't.
Do you? I'd like to see it.
Sahara produces a photo.
That's mine, and this is where hers would be.
Okay, thank you.
Kevin brings the photo to Judy.
Okay, so this is whose trailer?
Hers.
This Carrillo. Is there a street in between this area?
That's where hers would be, right
Where?
there, in that area where the rocky thing, right after the grass.
Kevin, give this to the defendant.
Maybe
and have
this
her
one's
put
better.
Where the plaintiff's trailer would be
Okay.
and where hers was.
This is where hers would have been, right here.
Just put plaintiff and show me where yours was.
Mine is right here.
Put it down. Let me see if that makes it clear to me, Kevin. Thank you.
Kevin returns the marked photo to Judy.
Yours is here, plaintiff's is here, and this large grass area is a common area?
Yeah.
It's a common area because you're all the way down here. This
Right.
is a relatively large space.
It's only like,
I wasn't talking to you.
sorry.
Okay. And the incident that involved your pet, Miss Highland, happened on October 8th, 2021.
Yeah, it was actually October 9th after going back through the paperwork.
You are no longer in this trailer park,
No, it's an RV park, but yeah.
an RV park. How long were you there?
4 or 5 months. It was like mid to end of May, and this happened in October, and within 3 weeks, I
You
got
left.
a place.
And that's your dog. That's
Yeah.
the dog that was injured that day.
Yes.
And what kind of a dog do you have?
A Vizsla mix boxer.
A Vizsla.
Vizsla.
So tell me what happened, Miss Highland, on October 9th.
I had gotten up and I was taking my girls out to go potty.
How many of those do you have?
2. I have a puppy that's almost 2 years old, and then Faith. So I was taking my girls out to go potty, and I'd been looking to make sure that the dog was inside, and I didn't see the dog, and it was on its chain under her trailer, apparently, because when we came outside,
Was your dog on a chain?
On a leash, yeah.
Well, what kind of leash?
that's not right.
Yes.
That's not true.
Well, that's a leash.
Right.
That's a leash.
was
He says
on-
the dog was on a chain.
No.
Do you have?
Yes, it was.
I don't have a chain.
Shh.
Okay.
I don't have a chain. Never had a chain. It's been a leash.
Okay. Were you outside on October 9th at the time of this incident? Were you outside when it started?
No.
Yes. I was outside on top of my stairs.
No, you weren't.
Okay. You're not allowed to answer her. I'll come back to you.
Okay.
Okay, so you're taking your dogs out to potty. Were they on a leash or off leash?
They were on a leash.
But she didn't have
They
them.
go outside.
Don't speak.
Okay.
I always have them on a leash whenever they go
Were
outside.
they on a leash on October 9th?
Yes.
Okay, so you were taking them out, although you did say, Ms. Highland, that you let them out in your front yard, is what you said, I believe, in your complaint. Let me see. You didn't say I took. You said I let my dogs out in the front yard to go to the bathroom. Mm-hmm. Well,
When I say let them out, let me clarify, okay? I'm always with my dogs.
I know that you say you were always with them.
Yeah.
That's not my question. My question to you was a simple one. Were they on leash or off leash?
Yeah.
Yes, what?
They were on their leashes. Mm-hmm.
Be careful. You took them out on leashes in the front grass. Mm-hmm. And what happened?
When we got down to the bottom of the steps, her dog came out from underneath the trailer and grabbed Faith.
Well, she was on a leash.
Yeah, but she grabbed her. The puppy started to go one way, and I had Faith and dropped her leash and the puppy was going, like she got out of my hand and was taken off, and her dog was under the trailer, didn't know it because I'd been watching to make sure she had been inside, but didn't see her or the dog out, and she came out of the trailer after the dog grabbed Faith.
In what location did her dog grab Faith?
Right by my trailer, right by my steps, where I had my steps. The chain was long enough for the dog to go past the tree that was right there in between the two properties. And she came out and
Your dogs
started
came right
beating-
up to my
just-
dog.
just a
You didn't have a hold of the leash.
You're not.
That's
you're not-
because the
listen to
dog
me, you're
broke
not
free.
Sorry.
You want to continue with this case, or you want to go?
No, I want to continue.
Then let's understand, we don't talk to each other. Okay, so your version of the events is that her dog was chained under her trailer. You came out with your dogs on leash. The puppy ran away. You dropped her leash. Her dog got your dog and took your dog back to her trailer.
Yeah.
At what point did she come out of the trailer?
After the second time, her dog had picked up Faith, and Faith was screaming, and I was screaming.
Okay, Miss Carrillo, have you ever had an incident with your dog before?
No, I
With another dog?
No, I haven't.
That's a lie, because you...
Shh. I want you to think carefully. Have you ever had another incident with your dog and another dog?
No.
How long have you had your dog?
Since she was a puppy, 9 years, since 2013.
And this is the first time she aggressively bit another animal?
Yes.
Okay. You have information to the contrary, Miss Highland?
Yeah.
Okay.
Because
I'd like you to tell me.
Okay. When I first moved in, she even told me about how her dog had killed a couple other dogs.
Okay. Tell me about that.
She just told me to make sure I was careful with my dogs because her dog has a history of attacking and aggression towards
No,
other dogs.
well, those are conclusions. You first said
Yeah,
that her
she
dog
told-
killed two dogs.
She
and then-
did. She told me that her dog was aggressive and that it has a history of killing other dogs and that it had already killed other dogs, and that's why she got kicked out of her last RV park.
I've never lived at another RV park.
That's
That's
not-
my first RV park ever living at.
Where did you live before?
At my mom's on Ming Avenue.
Did you ever indicate to Miss Highland that she should keep her dogs close to her?
We've never spoken prior to the incident. We never, I mean, just maybe a hi. She just had moved in. I never spoke to her.
You want to tell me your version of what happened on the 9th of October?
Yes. I was outside on top of my stairs. I was sweeping. My dog was at the bottom of the stairs. I have her tied up to the stairs. There's a ring where I clip her leash to, so she can't go far. It's just this distance while I was sweeping.
Would you hand that to me, please?
And I can hear her dogs barking while they were inside.
Would you open it up for me?
Judy examines the leash.
Okay, what you're telling me is that this is what you tied on to under the stairs. Where did you tie it?
This part right here. And then
Where?
I have
Where?
it, I have to show you how I have it, put it on. Can you give it
Yeah,
back?
let her show me.
Kevin returns the leash to Sahara.
I'll clip it onto her harness, and then this would clip
What
onto
harness?
the bottom. My dog's harness.
Are you telling me that your dog was on a 2-foot lead?
Yes, I have her right there when I'm right there. Yes.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay.
My neighbor can vouch to that. Yeah.
Caption, coming up.
So you did see part of this incident?
Correct.
Careful. You saw it from your trailer, from your RV?
Sitting outside my trailer, in front of my trailer.
So I want you to tell me exactly what you saw.
A courthouse. The Judy Justice logo appears. In the courtroom, Nanette and Sahara.
Nanette Highland claims her former neighbor, Sahara Carrillo, owes for vet bills after Sahara's dog attacked her chihuahua.
Tell me your name.
My name is Garrett Newhouse.
Mr. Newhouse, how long have you been the defendant's neighbor?
2, 3 years.
Did you see the dog on that gizmo?
Yes.
How far do you live from the defendant?
Directly behind Sarah. I'm just right behind her.
Behind hers. So you face the back or the front of her trailer?
The front of my trailer faces the back of her trailer. The door is the same direction towards the yard.
So that you don't see her front door.
Her trailer is angled so that I can see her front door.
Okay. You want to tell me your version of what happened on the 9th? You can sit down.
I was outside on top of my stairs. My dog was at the bottom. On the
On
bottom,
this thing,
On the
okay.
bottom, I have a hook that I clip her leash to, and she was sunbathing right there. I moved her other places, but while I was there, sweeping on top, she was right there. So then I hear her dogs inside that were barking, and then all of a sudden I hear the door open and the dogs just come rushing. Both of her dogs, they had leashes on, but she wasn't holding the leashes. And then my dog grabbed her dog, and I yelled at my dog and whacked her on her head, and she dropped the dog, and then that's when she was on her way.
How did that happen?
What do you mean?
Your dog is on a 2-foot lead. You heard her dogs coming out. You were on top of the stairs.
Yes.
You saw her dogs, according to you, running, and your dog is on this much. This much?
Yes.
No, actually not that much, because you made a loop.
Yeah, that's the way I do it.
Well, not a moment ago. You made it. You made a loop, so it was on about this much, and on about this much lead, your dog picked up her dog in the mouth. How many times?
Just that one time, and it's this long. You can see where the area is all dirt, where she stays on it and runs around it or misses in the dirt. The grass is still right there where it's nice and green, and the area that she sits in is right there, right in front of my stairs.
And so your dog grabbed her dog in the mouth, well, close to your trailer.
At my trailer, yeah.
At your trailer. And then you hit it on the rear end and she spit out the dog.
Yes.
And then?
And then she ran towards her and she came towards her dog.
This little dog ran towards the plaintiff. The plaintiff ran towards her. And what did you do?
She went to get her dog and I
What
grabbed
did you
my
do?
dog.
How did you grab your dog?
I took her off her leash and put her inside. And then I went to see if her dog, is your dog okay? You should have had a hold of her leash.
Now, what did you say to her when you came out?
Is your dog okay?
Okay. Is your dog okay? And what did she say to you?
I can't remember. She was just, your dog, got my dog. I'm like, how come you didn't have the leash? They were on leashes, but she wasn't holding them. And she said because of her legs that she couldn't. And I told her, then you shouldn't have dogs if you can't take care of them.
Just a second, is that what you said to her? You shouldn't have dogs if you can't take care of them?
If you can't they can't be loose. There's a leash law, and she didn't have the leash. She had leashes on them, but she didn't have a hold of them.
I'm just asking you.
Yeah.
That's what you want me to believe you said to her.
That's what I said to her, yeah.
You shouldn't have dogs if you can't take care of them.
That's what I said, yes.
Okay. And did you see her dog injured in any way?
No.
Can I see the records from the vet, please?
Yeah. And here's even photos.
And was there a report made to either the
There was,
RV?
but
Shh, I didn't finish my question. Was there a report made to the RV park
Yes.
or to the police department?
Yes.
May I see that too as well?
I don't have the RV park or the police report. They
Okay.
could not.
Okay, but
They
they
were
could
sending
not.
me all over.
The
but-
answer is I don't have them.
Yeah, but that's just photos from the injuries.
A photo of a Chihuahua.
Now, I'd like to see the vet report, please.
This is the neurology. This is all the other vet stuff.
Don't give me a whole bunch of stuff. I'd like to see the reports and the bills from the vet. And I am correct, sir, you did not see any of this incident. Is that correct?
Only the commotion
No, just
when
a second.
and she
I'm
smacked
asking
the
you.
dog and
No. Stand up. Let's be very careful about your answer. Am I correct that you didn't see any of this incident?
only after she had smacked the dog and he dropped the dog and that little commotion right there where she picked up the dog and went in the house.
You saw it from your trailer, from your RV?
Sitting outside my trailer.
So I want you to tell me exactly what you saw. Now look at me.
Her,
Who's her?
Sarah, her picking up her dog and going back to her house.
Where was she when she picked up her dog? No, I tell you what you're going to do. You're going to show me right here.
Like halfway between her house and my house. Her house.
Kevin brings Garrett a photo.
Put a mark where you saw her, where she picked up her dog.
He marks the photo.
Okay, may I have that, please?
Struck it somewhere. Like a couple feet away.
Kevin brings the photo to Judy, who reviews it.
So she picked up her dog right near Miss Carrillo's RV.
Clear, yes.
And where was Miss Carrillo?
She took the dog and led it up the stairs, put it in the house, and shut the door, and came back out to see.
And at that time, were you listening to what the two women were saying to each other?
Not really.
Were they yelling at each other, or were they calm?
There was yelling.
So if they were yelling, could you hear what the yelling was?
I didn't know either one of them at that time really that well. I think I went back in the house at that point, just whatever.
Thank you. You've been most helpful. Okay, you have the report for me from the 9th of October?
Yeah.
I'd like to see it.
Nanette hands a document to Kevin, who brings it to Judy. She reviews it.
Okay, so there was one set of stitches that the dog had.
That was her first surgery.
Okay, let me see the second time she was there.
This is the stuff for that one.
Nanette hands another document to Kevin, who brings it to Judy.
And that's what why.
She reviews it.
Well, this was the day afterwards, and when did she go
Right.
back?
It was June 30th because she was having grandma seizures and they had to keep her because they had to start her on phenobarbital because of the eye injuries and the head injuries.
Well, it doesn't really talk about those
That's in
injuries.
the pictures. It shows where her head was punctured.
I see one wound, and I don't see a
No,
photograph.
On the picture itself, if you see her head, there's a mark right here on her head by her eye. That was a puncture wound that they had to clean out.
Okay, now, the defendant says both dogs had a leash on, but that the leashes weren't attached to your hand. Is that correct?
Honestly, I don't remember because most of the time when I'm coming down the steps, I have their leash in hand, and sometimes, like going down the steps, I lose the leash or I drop it and they are at the bottom of the steps waiting for me because they know it takes me a minute to get down the steps.
Okay.
Caption, coming up.
If you're standing on your steps sweeping, you see her dogs running across, then you jump down from the step and you grab your dog.
Didn't she say that she wasn't sure if she was holding the leash? Her dogs
Absolutely.
came rushing to my dog.
I don't answer your questions.
A courthouse. The Judy Justice logo appears. In the courtroom, Nanette and Sahara.
Nanette Highland says her former neighbor, Sahara Carrillo, is responsible for her Chihuahua's vet bills. Sahara claims her dog was tied up and Nanette's dog ran onto her property.
At any time did Faith run across the lawn?
No, she was right by the steps because the tree is right there. It was like in between our spaces isn't even as big as this, in between here and your front of the bench. And literally, she was grabbed right by my steps.
Was any report made by you to any animal control?
I'd called 911 and reported it, and they can't find the report, but it was done over the phone, and I waited for him to come out for a week, and I kept calling him. But I did it over the phone with them.
Did you ascertain from the defendant whether her dog was up to date in rabies shots?
I didn't ask any questions afterwards. I was just trying to make sure and find out what was going on with her.
Did anyone from the RV park come and discuss the incident with you?
They just asked me what happened.
Just a second. So the answer is yes. Do you have any sort of documentation of that discussion that they had with you?
There was no documentation.
Do you remember the name of the person that you spoke to?
Yes.
Are you still at the RV park?
Yes.
Did you tell the RV park that there was a witness to this event?
No.
Well, there were two different versions of the event. One says that your dog came and attacked hers, and you say that her Chihuahua came and was aggressive towards your dog. But you have allegedly an independent witness who saw part or most of it, who you brought to court today. I assume that the plaintiff communicated to the RV park that your dog was at fault, correct?
Yes.
And you say your dog was not at fault. Is there any reason why you didn't tell the RV park that there was a witness?
Oh, because I didn't know yet.
When did you find out that he had seen anything of the event?
Maybe like 3 weeks after.
Tell me about that. How did you find out that he had seen any part of it?
Because I was talking to him about what was going on, that she was going to take me to court, and then he said that he had seen.
So now you were talking to your neighbor.
Right.
Which meant that you must have been at least somewhat friendly towards him
At that time, yes.
at the time of the incident on the 9th of October.
We didn't know each other that well
But you had lived there for a long time. How long did you live there?
since July 20.
And how long has he been living there? How long have you been living there?
A long time, 20 years.
Long time, 20 years. So my question is, what prompted you 3 weeks later to have a discussion with
Because
him?
I started to get to know him by then. I worked. I worked at that time. I worked a lot. You know, so I started to conversate with my neighbor. That's
Okay. How much were your vet bills?
This point, it's over 10,000.
Have they been paid?
Most of them.
Okay. I'd like to see the bills, the last bill.
And can I say something about
Yeah.
what she said? First of all, she was in there way before I was. She had already been there over a year. And second of all, the thing is she couldn't have said anything 3 weeks after, because it wasn't after until my leg recovered from having to have emergency surgery from falling right after the incident happened that I even decided to file court papers. So the court papers weren't even filed
Until when?
Until June.
I didn't say they were filed.
You said 3 weeks after, but anyways, so like all this
I see the bills,
happened
please.
back in October,
Nanette hands a document to Kevin.
and I literally couldn't get to the courthouse to be able to drive to the courthouse.
How much do you owe the vet?
What I've already paid is over 2,000, or right around 2,000 in cash that I've paid. But to get her MRI, I need to pay 3,000.
There is no nexus that can be drawn between the seizures that she's having now, other than other than the vet saying that it's possible that it can be caused by trauma.
Yeah.
Other than that, that's the only thing I saw there. There was not a full report that said the trauma that she had 6 months before was the basis for these seizures that she's having. Seizures. She's 11 years old.
Seizures right after the attack.
Ms. Highland, you have to understand that you need an expert witness that you don't have to demonstrate that the seizures that your dog is currently having is a direct result of this dog attack.
Right.
Do you understand? Faith is 11 years old, and it's
I have
possible.
the neurology.
Just a second. It's possible that it comes from that. It's possible it comes from something else. I don't deal in possibilities.
Right.
All I want to know is what vet bills you paid for October 9th and October 10th.
The actual total was $1,526.62 without her medicine being involved.
Okay, well, that's a reasonable vet bill for those 2 dates. She did have 2 different surgeries. And the medications that you're talking about were also included in that 1526.
Right.
Other than for the seizures that you want me to draw a connection with I'm not. And nothing more is owed to the vet for those 2 days, October 9th and 10th. Okay. Ms. Carrillo, I have to make a determination as to whether or not I believe the story that her 2 little dogs rushed up to your dog that was being chained to a step on a very, very short lead with you standing right there, and whether or not I believe that you stood there while your dog that was on a very short lead, that has never had any problems with aggression before, picked up her dog twice, because once she had puncture wounds in the stomach and once she had puncture wounds around the head. And I don't believe you. Quite frankly, I don't believe you.
Okay.
And I think you're responsible for her vet bills. I think you would have indicated.
Didn't she say that she didn't have the leash, that she wasn't sure if she was holding the leash? Her
Absolutely.
dogs came rushing to my dog.
I don't answer your questions. If you're standing on your steps sweeping,
Yes.
and your dog is now chained, and you see
Not
her
chained.
dog's running across, then you jump down from the step and you grab your dog. That's what you do. You have a very big dog that you keep on a very short, according to you, chain,
Yes.
and there's a reason for that. So if you're
Because-
standing with it, this is not a
That's fine.
question and answer. You're responsible for our vet bills. I believe her. $1,526. Judgment for the plaintiff. We're finished. Thank you.
This court is adjourned.
Nanette then Sahara.
They behave like even in the courtroom,
She did get bitten by my dog, but,
they listen. Like if I start counting to 3 with them,
it was about her not having them on the leash and having control of her dogs.
they go and do what they're told.
About her dog getting hurt. I mean, I went to see if it was okay.
Because that's how she is.
That if my dog bites another dog, I'm gonna have to pay.
Sarah and Judy.
So one thing I found interesting about that defendant's testimony was that when you were in your line of questioning about whether or not her dog had ever been in another fight or with any other dog, any interaction, she said no. I thought I remembered when I was reading her answer, she stated that she had a mutual understanding with the plaintiff that when her larger dog was outside, the plaintiff's dogs would be kept inside. Why would you need to have that sort of mutual understanding unless you knew that your larger dog had a propensity for violence towards other dogs?
That's true. I forgot. Now that you mentioned it, I remember that I read about this mutual agreement. I wouldn't think that she was afraid that the Chihuahua would attack her dog.
Probably not.
Probably not. Thank you.
Want justice? Go to judyjustice.tv. John's former client, Cynthia Booth, and her fiancé, Dwayne Burnley, for posting damaging reviews.
Court come to order. All rise.
Have a seat, please.
Kevin approaches the bench.
Hello, Judge.
Why,
Case
Kevin?
2079, Frazee versus Burley Booth.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Mr. Frazee, you are an electrician by trade.
Correct.
And how long have you been in that business, sir?
Since 1986 as a license and 1978 as an electrician.
Now, maybe a decade ago, you're going to give me the exact year, month and year. You were called to do a job for this lady. Your last name is?
Booth.
Miss Booth. And you did an electrical job for her. We'll go into it more fully in a minute. When you were doing that job, you brought in a helper. This gentleman whose name is Mr. Burnley.
That's correct.
And before you brought in Mr. Burnley, I gather from the papers, Mr. Burnley did not know Miss Booth. Would that be a fair statement?
That's a fair statement, but he did not bring me in. I was actually just driving down the street, and I'm new to the mountain, and I drove by and saw Mr. Frazee there, and I was...
Listen, this is not Gone with the Wind. This is not War and Peace. I asked you a simple question. Before you were brought in on the job, you didn't know Miss Booth.
That's correct.
Right. And that was about 10 years ago.
Correct.
Since that time, since you were brought in on the job, you and Miss Booth have gotten to know each other a lot better.
Correct.
And I assume that by a lot better, that the two of you live together.
Correct.
And you've been living together for how long?
Since November.
Of this last year,
yes.
November of 2021. But prior to that, you were social friends.
Correct.
And that social friendship started when first introduced to her at this job. It's the first time you met her.
Oh, that's the first time I met her, correct.
Correct. This is your problem, and this is the nature of your lawsuit. You allege that you did a job for Miss Booth almost a decade ago, and you came to ascertain that Miss Booth and/or Mr. Burnley had written some negative reviews about your company, currently wrote negative reviews about your company based on work that you did 10 years ago.
Yes.
That's your complaint. And you asked them to take them down. First they did, then they didn't. You found other ones posted in different areas. Now, Mr. Burnley, are you a working man, sir?
Yes.
What kind of work do you do?
I'm an electrical contractor in Big
Okay. Now, at the time that you first met Mr. Frazee, did you have your own company?
Yes.
You had your own company?
Yes.
In what year did you do Miss Booth's job?
I did it on April 30th, 2013, Your Honor.
That's not correct.
That's not correct.
Shh. Month and year, you say you did the job.
The job was done on May 9th of 2013.
Okay, so we're off by a month. Is that right? I don't care. You were talking about 9 years ago.
Correct.
Now, tell me something about the job. What was the nature of the electrical job that you were doing?
An older home needs to have at least a minimum of a 100 amp service. Ms. Booth's home had a 70 amp service at the time. She was purchasing it, and that came up on the inspection report to replace that, which I was engaged to do.
So far correct?
No.
Well, now I'll have your version. Did you have to upgrade the electric?
I had to upgrade due to a homeowner's insurance.
Okay, well,
That's what they required.
What's the difference in what he said? He said that you had to have your electricity upgraded and it came up in the inspection report.
It did not come in an inspection report.
Well, then how did they find out?
I
Who
was
found out
honest
about
with
it?
my policy.
What do you mean you were honest with your
Well,
policy?
they asked me what year the house was and what amperage it had, and I said 75.
And your insurance company said to you, it has to be 110.
100.
Or 100.
Yes.
Before you could move into the house, for one reason or another, you had to upgrade the electric.
Correct.
Okay, and you hired Mr. Frazee
Yes,
to
they
do
were
that.
my friends.
I don't care whether he was your friend or not. If he was your
Okay.
friend and he was a vet, you wouldn't have hired him to do
No.
your electrical work.
Of course
He was your
not.
friend and he was an electrical contractor.
Right, correct.
And when he came to your house to look at the job, did he come alone or with a helper?
Alone.
Once you change the ampage in a house, do you have to get somebody from either the county or the city where you live to sign off on it? That's either a yes or a no.
Yes.
And once Mr. Frazee did that, modified the ampage, did you have an inspection?
Yes, Your Honor.
Do you have that inspection?
Yes.
I'd like to take a look at it.
And the job was not.
I didn't ask you anything.
That also includes Mr. Burnley's
Just a second.
inspection.
Just a second.
I'm sorry.
Don't volunteer. I'm old. I get confused. I try to keep these things very linear, so even I understand them.
Judy reviews a document.
This is the inspection sign-off on the work that you did in 2013. Have you seen it? Yes, of course you have.
No.
Well, show it to them. You do remember that you had to have an inspection afterwards?
Of course.
Ms. Booth.
Of course.
Okay, it's just common sense. If you didn't have the work done and you said to your insurance company, I had the work done, the insurance company would say to you, show me proof that you had the
Correct.
work done, otherwise we're not giving you insurance.
Correct.
So you know you had an inspection after he completed the work.
It wasn't after
It was,
the work.
The work was never,
Shh. I didn't ask you anything.
Okay.
But I will answer for you.
She
Your
wasn't-
Honor.
You can.
Okay.
You can.
It-
So the insurance company accepted your word that the work was done.
Yes.
Okay. Can I have that back, please?
And I did tell them I had it signed off, but it was signed off when the job was half done.
That's your problem. You want to sign off when something's half done? Fine. I wouldn't sign off when
No,
my
I
hair was
did.
half dry.
Caption coming up.
I'm saying to you that it was nasty and malicious. And it wasn't until the two of you were hoochie-coochieing that all of a sudden we got negative reviews about a job they did 9 years before. That's ridiculous. It's mean-spirited.
A courthouse. The Judy Justice logo appears. In the courtroom, John, Cynthia Frazee, Cynthia Booth, and Dwayne.
John and Cynthia Frazee claim John's former client, Cynthia Booth, and her fiancé, Dwayne Burnley, slandered their business. Dwayne is countersuing for filing a wrongful lawsuit.
Now, my next question to you is, after 2013, did you perform electrical work for Miss Booth in her house? That's either a yes or a no.
yes.
Now I'm going to ask you, what was the nature?
I don't know.
What do you mean you don't know?
I don't remember.
You mean, just a second, you remember the work that you did when Mr. Frazee was there in 2013, when you were with him, but you don't remember the nature of the work that you did for your girlfriend in 2018?
I'm pretty sure it was a panel upgrade.
Just a second. I want you to think. What kind of work did you do for Miss Booth in 2018?
It must have been the panel upgrade that I did at her house. I changed the 100 amp out to a 200.
Sure, look at me.
Because that would be.
Look at me.
I'm sorry.
So you changed the 100 amp. Shh. This is not my strong suit, and I have to tell you something. Of the 100 million people who are watching this, they're going out to get a cup of coffee right now. You changed the 100 amp that he had done in 2013 to a 200 amp. You upgraded it in 2018.
And put a surge protection system
And a
in her
surge
house.
protection.
Yeah, now I
Okay.
do recall.
Great. When was the first negative review that you can show me written about your company? Now we got what's going on. Now I have it
2019, Your
clear.
Honor.
Do you have it clear?
I think a little bit more fuzzy than you, but clear enough.
Do you have it clear?
I have it clear now.
You have it clear? Well, just to make it crystal clear, Mr. Frazee did work at Miss Booth's home in 2013. It was electrical work. It was electrical work performed by him with the help of Mr. Burnley, because in order to get a homeowner's policy on her new house, she had to upgrade to satisfy, according to you, only insurance.
Correct.
That's what you say, from 70 to 100 amps.
Yes.
Look, this whole little thing at my age, I'm learning. Now, evidently, they liked what they saw in 2013, and that materialized into a romance. Good for you. And in 2018, I assume he was living there?
No.
When did he move in?
November of.
November of last year.
Yes.
Okay. But you were dating in 2018?
Yes.
Yes. In 2018, Mr. Burnley, not with the help of the plaintiff, replaced and upgraded the 100 amp to 200 amp, which is much better because I know that I have 200. That's, you have to plug things in. It's 110, 220, right?
Yeah.
110, 220. And he put in a surge protector. Now, even I know what a surge protector is. Correct me if I'm mistaken. That means if there's an overload, a lightning strike, whatever it is, it protects it so the whole board doesn't fry and everything turns off, and then you have to replace all the wires go zzz. Am I right? Right. So he upgraded the system and touched of necessity what Mr. Frazee did in 2013. No question, had to do that. Now I'd like to see the negative reviews and when they started.
The first one we found was in 2019, Your Honor.
Well, are these in order? This was...
That's the most current one that was in February of 2022.
Did you write this? Frazee Electric, he was supposed to do a panel change and never put rods in and fried my electronics in my home and garage opener. Left such a mess and never cleans up.
That's correct.
Did you write that?
Yes, I did.
When? In what year?
It's about 3 years ago.
3 years ago, 2018.
Approximately.
About when he changed the electrical
Yes,
system. Just a second. Okay. About when he changed the electrical system. All right, then you wrote something. I will not even write this company 1 star due to the unprofessionalism in completion of work. Hired this electrician to do a 100-watt panel, never grounded, never finished, and left a mess. He's known for not cleaning up. Had to hire another electrical contractor that was most professional. Now, when did you write that review?
About the same time.
2018?
Yes, on a different review.
That was a different one. Mm-hmm. And you said that you had to hire another electrical contractor.
Yes, I
to
did.
Finish the job. And who was that?
That was DMB Electric.
That was him?
Yes, I called
Just a second.
2 competitors.
Just a second. In what year did you call them?
Oh, this was...
No, in what year did you call him?
2013.
After he left, you called them?
I called 2 other contractors.
Just a second. Did you end up using Mr. Burnley?
Yes, I did.
Okay, so back in 2013, you were dissatisfied with this company.
Yes.
Let me follow this. 2013, you were dissatisfied with the company. You called another company.
2 other.
Just a second. You called another company, but the county had signed off on your job.
Yes.
What you say in your answer is that they signed off erroneously on the job. Well,
yes.
I have to take at face value they're signing off that the job was completed. And I assume you got your homeowner's insurance.
Yes, I did.
After he left and after you had the county sign off.
Yes.
Yes. Okay.
But they...
Now, just a second. Now, don't tell me a but.
No.
Now, 5 years later, because this was written in 2018.
Correct.
5 years later, you're now dating Mr. Burnley.
Correct.
Who's now living with you.
No.
Who had, well, you say you moved in 2021.
Oh, 21.
Yes.
Yeah, who's now living with you. You began dating in 2018.
That's correct.
And Mr. Burnley, who is now living with you, and in 2018, you woke up one morning and said, who now has his own electrical company, woke up and said, 5 years ago, Mr. Frazee's company and he did not do a professional job in my panel. And now we're dating. And now all these negative reviews come, not in 2013 when we, Sarah, you have Yelp and all those things in 2013?
I'm not sure if I can get back that far, but I could search.
And I wasn't aware of Yelp.
I don't care what you were aware of.
Okay.
You mean you woke up in 2019 and found out that you could give a star or a review? That's the first time you found that out? I don't believe you. I don't believe you.
Well, it's
I just
true.
want to tell you something. I don't believe you. I don't believe that when you want to go to a restaurant, Miss Booth, and it's a new restaurant, you don't take a look on your computer and say, I wonder how many stars it got. I wonder if there are any reviews on this resort.
Yes.
Well, then you were smart enough to do this.
My sons are in IT, so they
I want to
told-
tell you something. I don't believe you.
Okay.
Because I'm older than you are. And I know about this, and she can tell you I'm an idiot on the machine.
Well, I'm not savvy
I
with
don't
it.
buy it. And I don't buy, actually. Yeah, it is.
I can't see any
Your
of the
Honor,
reviews,
No.
but there are reviews on Yelp of his business that all are very positive.
I have them if you'd like to see them.
I will look
And
at
I
them.
have negative reviews that says the exact same thing what Cindy posted.
Just a second. You don't understand what I'm saying to you, Mr. Burnley. I'm saying to you that it was nasty and malicious, because if she was unhappy with the service, it would have been posted in 2013,
I did.
14, 15, 16, 17. And it wasn't until the two of you were hoochie-coochieing that all of a sudden we got negative reviews about a job they did 9 years before. That's ridiculous. It's mean-spirited.
Caption coming up.
All those positive reviews that you posted, did any of them have to do with people that you're sleeping with? That's a question.
No,
No,
of course not.
Of course not.
I'm not that
Okay.
kind of girl.
A courthouse. The Judy Justice logo appears. In the courtroom, John and Cynthia Frazee, Cynthia Booth, and Dwayne.
Electrician John Frazee has accused his former client, Cynthia Booth, of posting damaging reviews years after the job was completed.
It's mean-spirited.
That's not correct.
Just a
John.
sec. You say it's not correct.
Well, I'm
I'm
just
looking
saying-
at the timeline. I'm looking at an inspector's report.
Right.
Who is a disinterested party, who signed off on an electrical work. I'm listening to Mr. Burnley, who 5 years later did work that replaced his work from 100 amps to 200 amps with a surge protector, and all of a sudden, you start writing negative reviews about their company. That's the timeline. And if you want to try to fill me in and make me feel as if I made a mistake, I'll give you 30 seconds to do it.
Okay. Yes, we started seeing each other in 2014. And my sons are in IT administration, and they had told me, Mom, you don't know
Don't
about
tell me what
Yelp?"
your sons. Don't tell me what your sons
Okay,
told
I
you.
didn't know about Yelp or Google reviews back at that time, because I'm not computer savvy.
You want to know something? I don't believe you. I don't believe you. I'm almost 80 years old, a lot older than you are. And I know that if I want to look something up, which I do occasionally, I look something up and I say, did so-and-so eat at this fish restaurant? It's a new place, it's a new town. I'm going to go there and take a look at it. I know how to do that.
I know.
And I'm an idiot, and I'm an idiot. And if you just found it out, if you just
I
found
did.
out
I'm
how to
old
do
school.
it, then there was no reason for your first review to be about his company.
No.
About a job that was
There's
done.
91 other reviews I've posted.
Just a second. Positive or negative?
Positive.
Are you sleeping with any other electrician?
No, I'm not.
Just a second. That's the end. All those positive reviews that you posted, did any of them have to do with people that you're sleeping with? That's a question.
No,
No,
of course not.
Of course not.
I'm not that
Okay.
kind of girl.
What I'm telling you is the timeline doesn't make sense. These nasty reviews written about a job that started 9 years before, in this case, 6 years before, now that you are sleeping with a head of an electrical company, don't make sense. And my nose tells me if it doesn't make sense, it's not true. Now, when you came back a month later, what else did you do?
That's it.
Didn't
At that
clean up a
time.
mess.
At
Just a
that
second.
time.
Didn't clean up a mess.
Yes, I cleaned up the mess.
You cleaned up what
My
mess?
mess. He
your
doesn't
mess.
clean up his mess.
Well, you didn't. That's what she told you.
No, I have other reviews of other people on the internet that posted that.
I'm asking you a question. You didn't clean up his mess.
I didn't
No.
clean up his mess. I
Right.
misunderstood you.
Okay, well, that's what I said. You
sorry.
didn't clean up his mess
No, I cleaned up his mess.
and didn't write a review.
Well, I didn't know about Yelp.
I'm telling you, you can say it until the cows come home.
not
I don't
true, Your
believe
Honor.
you. I don't believe you. And I don't believe that the first year that you found out to write a review is when you and Mr. Burnley started a relationship. I just don't believe it.
No.
And I think it's mean-spirited. You have to know, Miss Booth, I think it's mean-spirited.
But we were seeing each other in 2014.
You were seeing each other in 2014.
Yes.
You have a company, sir?
Yes, I
Do you
did.
have a company?
Yes.
Are you licensed?
Yes.
What's the name of your company?
DMB Electric Inc.
Just would you take a look at that, Sarah?
It'll be under DMB Electric Services Inc.
And in what year was your company formed?
This
She's-
one, this
this-
one, 2013.
He had a prior
I had a prior one.
2013.
Yes, Your Honor.
Was that before or after you did her job with him?
The
Before or
license-
after?
I had the license before.
No, the company. I said, was the
Yes,
company
the company
formed?
was established.
Careful, because she's a whiz with the computer.
No, that's good.
Was your company formed before?
Yes, Your Honor.
Before you did the job with him?
Yes.
Okay, in what month in 2013?
I don't know.
Are you
what date.
guessing?
Yeah, I'm going
Are
to
you
guess
guessing?
January. Yes.
Was it before or after you did the job with the plaintiff? If you don't know the answer, say, I don't remember.
I don't remember.
Okay, now,
The business was incorporated March 20th of 2013.
does it have any reviews?
Only 4 from the past 2 years on Yelp, all positive.
By the way, did you ever write a review for him? Did you ever write a review for Mr. Burnley's company? Is not an answer. Did you ever write a review for Mr. Burnley's company? Stop shaking your head, Mr. Burnley. Did you ever write a review for Mr. Burnley's company?
No.
Okay. I don't know what it is that you didn't understand. Sir, you didn't say much. You don't have to say much. I got what went on here, and I think it was mean-spirited, and you're suing for $10,000.
Yes, Your
I
Honor.
think that their reviews and the abuse of the critique of your business warrants the award of $10,000. You have a counterclaim. Which one of you has a counterclaim?
I do.
Yeah, I'm going to tell you something. Your counterclaim's dismissed. I think that you were a co-conspirator in her writing these
I was
reviews.
not.
Counterclaim is dismissed. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $10,000. We're finished here. Thank you very much.
Your Honor.
This court
We're
is
done.
adjourned.
Outside the courtroom, John, then Dwayne.
During the COVID shutdown, when nobody had any work in a small community of 5,500 people, that's what they chose to do.
Hey, I'm glad it's behind me, man. That's all I can say.
He was just getting his license, and I helped him begin his business, and this is how he serves me.
Sarah and Judy.
I agree with the judgment, but why $10,000? That seemed a little high for me.
You can permanently hurt somebody's business, their livelihood, if you write a negative review. Because people more and more rely on the internet when they seek a service, rely on somebody else to say, I've had a good experience or I've had a bad experience. I believe, based upon the timeline that we heard, that the defendants wrote these reviews for a reason other than bad electrical work. Because if there was bad electrical work, that would have shown itself between 2013 and 2018 when her fiance redid the whole system.
Or it wouldn't have passed the inspection.
Or it wouldn't have passed the inspection. So that to me is malicious. I think you have to get a real wake-up call. And to me, $500 doesn't do it. It's malicious, and I don't think he has to show any real damages other than the reputation of his business has been sullied by someone for malicious reasons having nothing to do with work that was performed 9 years before. And I'm perfectly comfortable with that judgment.
Title, Judy Justice.
Have you been cheated? Go to judyjustice.tv. Diane Deppenbrock is suing horse breeder Jessica Austin for the deposit on a horse.
Court come to order. All rise.
Judge Judy enters.
Have a seat, please.
Kevin approaches.
Hello, Judge. Case 2136, Deppenbrock versus Austin.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Judy turns to Diane.
Dippenbrock.
Yes.
You bought a foal, which is a baby horse, in utero, which means that the horse had not yet had this foal, but you wanted to place an order for it, and Miss Austin is in that business.
Correct.
You entered into a contract. By the way, what is the gestation period of a horse?
Roughly 340 days.
And at what period in the horse's pregnancy did you enter into this contract with the plaintiff?
Roughly 3.5 months into the gestation.
Okay. Did you have a written contract?
Yes, Your Honor.
I'd like to take a look at it because this is a contract action. And it is your claim that you made a substantial deposit, over $3,000, for the horse, that when the horse was born, it did not meet the specifications of this contract. You wanted your money back. The defendant says that's not true, that the horse did meet all of the requirements of this contract. The one specifically that you're referring to is something in this contract, which I will read, I assume, that says that the horse must be, once born, insurable within the first 2 days or 48 hours of its birth, and that this horse was not insurable within 48 hours, and therefore you decided to terminate the contract. That's your position, correct?
Yes, Your Honor,
and it's your position that the horse was in fact insurable. You say you can prove that because you did in fact get insurance on the horse within 48 hours of the horse's birth, and
So
no, don't. Your
of that
position is
statement
that you met the conditions of the contract.
Yes.
Okay.
Judy reviews the contract.
Okay. The deposit for 25% of the purchase price, the seller agrees to hold the foal off market exclusively for the buyer until the foal reaches 48 hours old and is deemed insurable. Well, does that mean that foal is taken from the mother and transferred?
No.
So the foal stays with the mother until it's how old?
I choose to wean at 6 months because they seem to be better adjusted if you wait until that period.
Okay, and it's not that you can't get insurance, it's that a live, healthy foal is defined as a foal that is deemed insurable at 48 hours old. And if the mare fails to produce a live, healthy foal, then the buyer may request a refund of the deposit or a credit towards another purchase. Okay, so the foal was born when?
June 9th, 2022 at roughly 5:30 in the morning.
Okay, your case, your proof.
Okay. So I had to find out the foal was born through Facebook.
Okay, whatever.
Never notified me. And then I went to see the foal when it was a day old on Thursday.
1 day old?
I mean, well, not even 12 hours old, basically.
Okay, so it was not a day old, it was 12 hours old.
Correct, I'm sorry, 12 hours old. June 10th, she told me the vet would be out at 9:30 in the morning to do the routine foal exam, and I had requested to be notified of the results.
Just tell me about the contract. The foal is born alive and is how old now?
She turned 5 months old on the 9th of this month.
Have pictures of her?
I do.
I'd like to see.
Jessica grins, then hands photos to Kevin, who brings them to Judy. She reviews photos of a dark-colored baby horse.
Oh, she's beautiful.
Thank you.
Have you seen her?
I have.
Recently?
No.
Would you show the plaintiff these photographs?
Kevin brings the photos to Diane, who reviews them.
Looks perfectly healthy to me.
I couldn't get insurance
Just
when
a
she
second,
was...
Just a second. Looks perfectly healthy to me. And I'm not an expert, but you would say that that horse looks pretty healthy.
Yes.
Okay, great. So now the horse is 12 hours old, and tell me the rest.
So at 48 hours old, I submitted the vet report to 8 insurance companies, and they all declined to insure the animal.
Just a second. You submitted what report? Let me see the report, and let me see what you received.
Okay.
Did you furnish her with a report within 48 hours?
I furnished her with what the vet gave me. He did the vet exam at 24 hours old, but he had to draw blood and send it to a lab.
Okay.
And wait for that to
let
come
me.
back.
This first thing is dated June 12th, 2022. And this laboratory is sending the report to you, and it seems that they put the horse on a course of antibiotics initially for 1 day because something came back high. But it says, I do not believe all foals should automatically get antibiotics. However, I stand by our decision to treat what turned out to be a completely normal and healthy foal. We can pull follow-up labs to be sure, but her behavior since the blood sample backs up the lab results. Her behavior since the blood samples, what does that mean?
So for a foal to be considered doing well behaviorally, it needs...
What are you a doctor of, first tell me?
People. Internal medicine.
Okay.
For people.
Okay.
I brought an
You're the
expert witness veterinarian.
Okay. So now I have these test results, which I don't understand, and I'd like to see your reports from the insurance companies.
Diane hands a document to Kevin, who brings it to Judy. She reviews it.
How long was the foal on antibiotics?
She received 2 doses, one the day the vet came out, and then one the following morning before he got the blood test results back.
Which, when the blood test results came back,
They were normal.
They were normal.
Yes. And he said, don't give any more antibiotics. She does not need them.
And this report that you have from one insurance company, or from actually all of them, say underwriters have declined to provide coverage at this time and will reassess when the foal is off antibiotics. Well, the foal was off antibiotics within 2 days.
Mrs. Austin told me she was on antibiotics for 3 days, actually. And
Well, either 2 or 3 days, but then the test results came back normal.
The insurance companies, each of them will wait a certain amount of days. So that particular one wanted to wait 7 days to reassess after the foal had been off antibiotics. A few of the companies were 30 days, and I think one was 14 days.
Well, but that doesn't matter. All you need is one.
I was taking a risk with having an animal that's uninsured, and I wasn't ready to.
This is problematic for me, because if I put a deposit down on something that I really wanted, and within 2 or 3 days, any question with regard to whether or not the animal was insurable or healthy, if my intention was to honor the contract, I would say, let's see if the results are normal or abnormal. Now, the results came back that the foal was perfectly healthy. So unless you had, in my view, something preconceived that you wanted out of this deal for some reason other than insurability, it's your horse.
I signed the contract based on the fact that she could be insured. The year before, I purchased another in utero, and that foal was insured at 24 hours old, and with the same type of contract. I wasn't going to enter
that's
into
all
a
right,
contract.
but that's all, you understand what I'm saying to you.
understand,
You
but I-
understand what I'm saying to you, because my problem is, after I made the deposit, according to you, some things came to my attention that gave me anxiety. This is before the foal was even born. I learned about several of plaintiff's horses that had to be put down. She had horses that were unsound, lame, and missing eyes. Her young horses were jumping and running in paddocks with huge boulders. I also found out that she tried to sell the mare that was pregnant with my foal to a friend of mine. It was unsettling.
Correct.
Right. So I'm trying to just put this in chronological order for myself to understand whether there was a true breach of this contract.
Caption coming up.
You have a counterclaim.
Yes, Your Honor.
For what?
When I originally got the notification from the court, I got kicked in the head by a horse on July 4th, and they had done testing. I'm out of work. They said I have a cognitive deficit.
What does that have to do with what you want?
Later.
So this is a picture of the car before he painted it?
No, ma'am, that's after.
Oh, it doesn't look bad.
From afar.
Listen, when you're born in 1964, everything looks better from afar.
A courthouse. The Judy Justice logo appears. In the courtroom, Diane and Jessica.
Diane Deppenbrock is suing horse breeder Jessica Austin for the deposit on a horse. Jessica is countersuing for breach of contract.
The foal is born on the 9th of June.
Correct.
Was given a dose of antibiotics on the 10th of June.
Correct.
Because they were suspicious of something before the blood was drawn.
Correct.
Given another dose of antibiotics in the morning of the 11th.
Correct.
The blood results come back on the 12th, which indicates that the horse was totally normal, and you advised her, correct? That the
I
test
immediately
result...
forwarded the email to her, correct.
Okay, now the foal is 50 hours old, and you're told that the foal is totally healthy. I'm not sure that I'm comfortable with your position that there was a material breach of this contract. I think that a perfectly healthy horse was born, and it was within a reasonable period of time, may not have been 48 hours, but if they were being very cautious in starting the course of antibiotics. You're the vet. Stand up and tell me if I'm not seeing something. The vet who saw the horse, was that you?
It was not.
Okay. Evidently decided that to be very cautious, they would await the blood test result on the horse, on the baby, and start a course of antibiotics that could be stopped if the blood tests came back normal, which they did within a day. Oh, I don't think that there's been a material breach of this contract by the defendant. I think that you're obligated. If she wanted specific performance, that's fine, but you're not entitled to your deposit back.
I have an email from the insurance company from the 21st when she finally told me that the bull was insured.
Just a second.
I can't take that risk for 2 weeks on an animal.
No.
Get insurance on.
No. But your problem is, it wasn't 2 weeks. Your problem was, it was less than a day within adding it on to that 48-hour period. And I have to determine whether that was a material breach of the contract. Certainly, if the lab results came back that show that there was any deficiency in the horse, I would say absolutely you're entitled to your deposit back. But they did not. They came back and they said that a vet wanted to be very cautious, but the vet turned out to be wrong.
My contract didn't state anything about a vet.
I'm telling you, I don't find that one day was a material breach of the contract, because if you had then on the third day sent the normal blood test results out to the same insurance company, the insurance company would have found that the horse was insurable.
They wouldn't, because they wanted to wait 7 days until the horse was off antibiotics.
Then you wait 7 days. That's still not a material breach. She's not asking you for the rest of the money.
So if something would have happened in those 2 weeks, I would have been out $9,000.
That is not
just a second.
accurate.
You were not. You weren't going to take the horse until the horse was 6 months old.
I wasn't going to take the horse if it wasn't if it couldn't be insured.
Well, it could be insured. It turned out that the vet was cautious and you were wrong. And I believe that you had already made a decision in your mind.
I had not already made a decision.
Well, I find that there's not a material breach. You don't get your deposit back. Now, horse is yours. You have a counterclaim.
Yes, Your Honor.
For what?
$1,500 for my lawyer costs and another $100 to file the counterclaim.
For your lawyer's costs for what?
When I originally got the notification from the court, I got kicked in the head by a horse on July 4th, and they had done testing. I'm out of work. They said I have a cognitive deficit that they're working.
What does that have to do with what you want? I mean, I'm sorry about that, but what does
I
that
obtained a lawyer to represent me in court because I didn't know if I would be capable of representing myself.
Oh, well, but you are perfectly capable of representing yourself. You don't get your deposit back. So now you have a perfectly healthy horse that you can sell, and hopefully sell for the same amount that you sold it to the plaintiff for, and pay your attorney's fees. Do you understand? Because she lost her deposit. I don't think that there was a material breach of a contract with an extra 1 day to get normal lab results back. Your case is dismissed. We're done. Thank you very much.
This court is adjourned.
Jessica.
As the judge read from the contract, as the seller, I assumed all risk on the foal until she was 6 months old.
Put a lot of money to make an investment in, and you want to make sure that your assets are covered and that the horse can be properly taken care of if something does come up.
Therefore, the argument that the buyer would lose anything if something happens to the foal is inaccurate.
I'm really happy with the 2 horses that I have, and I'll continue to stick with the ethical breeders that I know.
And the insurance that we obtained was based on the exam at 24 hours old. Therefore, we have proven that we upheld the contract.
So one interesting thing about that case is, as I was looking at the calendar of what day the horse was born and when the vet came out first and when the results came back, the horse was born on a Friday, and then the vet came out Saturday, and I was surprised that any lab sent labs back on a Sunday. So in a business that's so dependent on something you can't control when the horse is going to give birth, why would the defendant put in her own contract a 48-hour, such a tight window for insurability for the horse? Maybe it's standard practice. I don't know standard practices for horses or anything like that. But
you're right, it's a tight window. And my guess is, although I could have asked the question, probably standard in that industry, I'm not sure. But it's interesting to note that in contract law, unless time is of the essence, there has to be some sort of material breach. And, you know, in this case, if the defendant had not had a vet come out and look at the horse for a week, well, that's a different story. She had a vet come out immediately. The vet was super cautious. Vet turned out to be ultimately, thankfully, mistaken that there was nothing wrong with the horse. Got a clean blood test, but the plaintiff had already determined that she had buyer's remorse with regard to this deal. There was another agenda there because the horse looked beautiful as it turned out, 5 months old, and a beautiful animal, and it was perfectly clear within 60 hours.
And the defendant seems to love it now and very proud of it, so it's in a good place anyway.
Yeah.
Case 2134, Wimberly versus Mahara. All parties, please step forward.
Tina Wimberly is suing auto body worker Robert Miera for a refund of a 1969 VW Bug paint job.
Miss Wimberly, tell me about this car that you have.
So I have a 69 Volkswagen Beetle. I've had the car for about 20 years.
Where did you buy it?
In Salt Lake City, Utah.
Is it a bus or a Bug?
It's a Bug.
My goodness, I remember everyone had one of those cars. The whole world had those little Bugs when they came out. Except me, scared to death. Okay. Anyway, you've had it for a long time and you try to keep it restored. Do you have a photograph of it?
I do, yes,
I'd like
ma'am.
to take a look at it, please.
Caption coming up.
You acknowledge it's unsatisfactory because you said,
I didn't
I'll
acknowledge.
fix
I
it.
said I'd take care of it. And a good gesture to try to make things work with her. I did not deny her any kind of service or say, go get lost until she started cursing at me.
No.
She didn't tell you she was cursing at me, you know.
A courthouse. The Judy Justice logo appears. In the courtroom, Tina and Robert.
Tina Wimberly claims auto body worker Robert Miera owes a refund on a 1969 VW Bug paint job.
As you're getting that, the case is simple. You want your money back for a bad paint job that you say that Mr. Miera did on the car.
A photo.
So this is a picture of the car before he painted it?
No, ma'am, that's after.
Oh, that's after?
Yes.
Oh, doesn't look bad.
From afar.
Listen, when you're born in 1964, everything looks better from afar. Okay, and that's an interesting color. Do you have a photograph of what the car looked like before you took it in to the defendant?
No, ma'am.
Okay.
But I have pictures of after the bubbling that it's doing.
Yeah, I'll take a look at it.
Tina hands photos to Kevin, who brings them to Judy. She reviews images of bubbles in the purple paint on the hood of the vehicle.
Okay. Have you shown these pictures of the bubbling to Mr. Miera?
I have, Your Honor.
And you've seen them, sir?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so this is the story. You brought your car into Mr. Miera to paint it. He gave you a price. The price was?
Originally, it was $3,500.
What did you ultimately pay him?
$6,500.
Okay, so you paid him $6,500 to paint it. When had you brought him the car?
In January.
Of what year?
2021.
And when did you pick the car up from him?
May of 21. I was moving from Albuquerque, New Mexico to Louisiana, and as May got closer and closer, I kept telling him, I'm leaving, I'm leaving.
Okay, the car was there from January until May.
Yes, ma'am.
You picked the car up in May. Was it ready in May?
Yes, ma'am.
When she picked it up?
Yes, it was ready when she picked it up.
When had you painted it?
Probably painted it at the beginning of April.
No, ma'am.
Is that when you started sanding it down, I assume?
Oh, no, she actually sanded the car down herself.
So the car was completely sanded when you got it?
No, it wasn't completely sanded. We had an agreement that she was supposed to help me repair the car. You know, that's why I gave her a price that I did, because she wanted to help and learn how the process went.
Okay.
So
just look up for me.
So I gave her
1969 VW Bug.
So I gave her
found
the
it under
chance
classic cars.
to
Okay.
learn the process.
But you say it was ready when she picked it up?
Yes.
Okay. And she showed you the pictures of the bubbling on the car?
Yes.
And she paid you $6,500?
Yes.
Well, I would have a trouble with that bubbling myself.
Of course, I understand.
So?
I offered to fix the car.
And?
She didn't want to bring it back.
Well, that's far trip for her to bring it back.
Well, that's all I can do. I can offer to fix it, you know.
Well, by offering to fix it, you acknowledge that I would say as a layperson, this is not what I would expect.
Well, I said
this was not what I would expect if I paid $6,000
of course
to paint a car. And what steps, because this bubbling seems to be in various spots of the car, so it's impossible, and I'm a lay person, you know, I went to law school.
Yeah.
I didn't go to mechanic school or painting school, but I've lived a long time, and when you have spots like this on anything, either a wall or a car, you can't just spot fix it, right?
No, you can spot fix it.
It's all over the car, Your
Just a
Honor.
second.
Yeah.
Well, it's been my experience that you can't spot fix it because this is a bright color. It was done now almost a year and a half ago, and you're not going to be able to match colors because car colors like bright ones fade. So if you just do it in spots, it'll look like a leopard.
Well, not necessarily.
Not necessarily.
There's ways to adjust the paint, the color of the paint.
Well,
you can tint
Mr. Miera, she is not bringing the car to New Mexico when she now lives in Louisiana.
Yes.
Because that would cost her. I know I transport cars of mine when I move around, and that's very expensive. Not quite as expensive as the paint job, but close, which would mean she would have to incur a substantial expense to get you back the car from a paint job that clearly was unsatisfactory. Well, that you acknowledge as unsatisfactory because you said,
I didn't acknowledge.
I'll fix
I said I'd take care of it in a good gesture to try to make things work with her. I did not deny her any kind of service or say, go get lost until she started cursing at me.
No.
She didn't tell you she was cursing at me, you know?
Well, Mr. Miera, if what I say you would have to do would be to start over, sand down the car, which she did herself, according to you, because if she sanded the car...
She got a discount for working on her... She worked on her own car, so she got a discount for working on her own car. So she had her hand in it as well.
That's terrific. You're going to give her back her money, $6,500. Judgment for the plaintiff. We're done.
This court is adjourned.
I think when she transported the car, the moisture and the climate that she took it to may have played a factor.
I totally disagree with what he said because I took it from his house, put it in another van.
And having the car bubble like that, but you know, I'm not sure. There's a lot of things that could happen.
And the moisture with what he's claiming, there's no way.
I tried to rectify the situation and it didn't work out, so.
Time to get it looking good again.
Sarah and Judy.
You never got back to me about how much the 1969 Beetles were worth. And I was surprised because reading the papers, reading a $6,500 paint job, I was surprised at that. Like, that was very expensive to me. But then when I looked up how much the cars are worth, they're worth anywhere between $12,000 and $35,000 for a nicely kept, maintained vintage car, similar to the one that I saw briefly in the photos.
I'm sorry for not getting back to you.
It's okay.
I got caught up.
But I think you made the right call because after the paint job, we saw the damage or the bubbling, and I know that you or I would not be satisfied with that paint job on an asset that was worth that amount of money.
Of course.
So I think the right thing happened.
I'm sorry. Forgive me.
It's okay.
I'll try not to do it again.
You.
Title, Judy Justice.
Want justice? Go to Drummond is suing his former friend, Elena Smith, for an unpaid car loan given to Elena after her release from prison.
Court come to order. All rise.
Judge Judy.
Have a seat, everyone.
Kevin approaches the bench.
Hello, Judge. Case 2166, Hammond versus Smith.
Thank you.
Judy turns to Stewart.
Mr. Salmon, the long and short of this case is you met the defendant on some sort of a website. She was in prison at the time. You began to see her. She got out of prison. You gave her a certain amount of money that you consider gifts to her, but then she asked you if she could borrow money to buy a car. You gave her $2,600 with the expectation of being repaid, and this is your lawsuit, correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay. And your answer to him said, well, it was never really anticipated that I would give him back his money, only I said I would give him back if I got my stimulus money. I didn't get my stimulus money, so I'm not paying him back. That's what the case is about. Simple. So let me get a couple of pieces of information from you. From when to when were you in prison?
January of 2019 until June of 2022.
For what?
Several things. I did any thefts and stolen firearms.
And?
That was it.
Was there one indictment or more than one indictment?
One federal indictment and 23 counts for state.
Which state?
Washington.
Was it the first time you were in prison?
Yes.
Did anybody else go into prison as a result of the same case?
No.
At what point during your stay in prison did you begin to communicate with Mr. Salmond?
Somebody had put me on a prison pen pal website, which I wasn't aware of until I got a message from him. I took myself off the site. That site's usually for people to get things from people, money in their books, packages. So we started talking, but...
When? Give me a month and year.
It was in April of 2019.
So right away?
Yeah, about a few months after.
Right away. And you were in jail, so you clearly stayed in touch with him.
Yeah.
How often did you stay in touch with him?
We corresponded maybe initially once every couple of months.
And then?
And then I was taken from prison to Spokane in November of 2020 for a federal indictment. I was gone 6 months.
To serve time on a federal indictment?
Not to serve time, but to be indicted and sentenced.
And were you?
I was.
To what?
6 months.
In the same prison?
No.
Different prison?
Yeah, I was supposed to go after my state to go do my federal time.
Now, the government started to send out these stimulus checks, which, in my mind, and maybe I'm wrong, were given to people who were suffering through the pandemic because they couldn't work, they couldn't feed themselves, they needed money to exist. And that's why the money was given out. I mean, I recall the letter that came with the stimulus money. It seemed to me, Ms. Smith, so I'm going to ask you, because I read your answer, which I found interesting. And you said that while you were in prison and communicating with him, several of your stimulus checks came. Where did they come?
They were going to be sent to his house.
Why were they going to be sent to his house?
Because inmates were having their stimulus checks sent to the facility. The facility takes 75% of it.
Now, so I knew this would get more interesting, and I have to sort of put it in my timeline. So you had to apply for the stimulus checks.
Correct.
And all the inmates filled out a form for the stimulus checks. The other inmates filled out forms which said that they wanted the stimulus checks, gave them their social security number and an address.
Correct.
And you put his address on your stimulus check.
Actually, he filed it for me.
Whoever, he put his address. Was it at your direction that he filled it out for you? Or did he just do it himself? I mean, I'm up to a casual.
Yeah, he filed online for me.
Because you asked him to?
Yes.
And because he used his address, while the government was taking 75% of those stimulus checks and taking it for your upkeep in prison, because there's a certain amount of upkeep. You have meals, you have doctor services, whatever you have. They took 75, leaving you 25%, I suppose, to put on your account in the canteen or to do whatever you want. Is that close?
Yes.
How many checks did you see?
None.
Because according to you, they went to his house, and since he couldn't find you, because you had been transferred to one prison or another, what did you do with the checks and how many did you get?
I believe I got 2 checks, and then they just all expired. You know, I never deposited them or anything.
Do you have them?
No, ma'am.
Where are they?
One of them I sent back.
And where's the other one?
Just throw it away.
When did they send it, in 2020 or 2021?
I believe it's 21.
Your Honor, it was 2020.
Okay. But you never cashed any of them?
No, ma'am.
Good thing. Very good thing. No rhyme or reason to giving out stimulus money to people who are already being taken care of by the state, but the federal government, I know, was printing money like it was Mardi Gras, and sending money to prisoners is a dubious thing. Sarah, you looked up some figures for me on, because I was curious about this case. How much money Kevin and I spent on sending money to prisoners, especially those who were in long-term, like lifers or whatever. She wasn't, but she got stimulus checks, 2 of them sent to him.
So there were over 1.1 million COVID stimulus checks, totaling over 1.3 billion sent out to incarcerated people across the United States throughout COVID. And out of those numbers, according to the letter from the IRS, some 163,000 recipients were serving life sentences who received the stimulus checks. But that's throughout the U.S., not just in Washington
not just the state
or
of
Texas.
Washington. I got it. Okay.
Caption coming up.
I don't know one guy that cold turkey goes on a prison website to get a pen pal. But the people that do that are sort of the same people that have themselves shot out of a cannon. A little bit crazy. A little bit.
Elena grins. A courthouse. The Judy Justice logo appears. In the courtroom, Stewart and Elena.
Stuart Selmond claims his former friend, Elena Smith, owes for a car loan he gave her after she was released from prison.
Then, Miss Smith, there comes a time when you get out of jail.
Correct.
During the time that you were in jail, once you reconnected with him, did he send you any money?
That's when he started. He never had before. I never asked, but
when you reconnected?
Yes, because I had lost my job being gone.
So you
for
got
court.
out?
No, I had a job in the prison.
Okay.
But I was gone for 6 months for court, so when I got back, I lost that job. So that was the first time I asked him for help. But again, my stimulus checks were supposed to be at his house, so
but they were
I didn't know that yet.
Okay.
So.
Well, you asked him to fill out the form. Why did you agree to fill out the form with your address on the stimulus checks?
She said she had no one else to send them to.
Okay. Mr. Salomon, do you work?
Yes, ma'am.
Who do you work for?
I work at the hospital in Tyler.
What do you do?
I'm a nurse.
Now, Mr. Salmon, why wouldn't you ask Ms. Smith, hey, why do you want them at my house? I can't cash them. Why not just send them to the prison? Did she tell you?
No, ma'am.
Did you ask her?
No, ma'am.
All right, so he's not asking for any of that money back. He's asking for the $2,600 for the car that you wanted when you came out of prison. When you came out of prison, you lived independently.
I was in transitional housing.
Mm-hmm. And tell me how it came about that you asked him for money for a car.
He came and picked me up from prison, bought me a phone.
Okay, he picked you up. That was nice.
Yeah.
Anybody else pick you up?
No.
Who was that?
This is my best friend of 18 years.
Okay, did she pick you up?
No.
So he picked you up?
Yeah.
Okay, and what else did he do? He bought you a phone.
He bought me a phone.
He's not asking for that back. He bought you a phone as a gift, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Correct.
Yes, he bought you a phone so that you would be connected to the world.
Correct.
What's next?
Then he started cash apping me money
He
that
did.
I didn't ask for.
How much?
I have it over here. The first one was June 13th for $50, June 14th for $50. This is prior to the car money.
So you said you needed some cash and he...
I never said I needed it. He just was doing it.
Okay, and he's not asking for any of that money back.
Right.
Now tell me about the car.
So I got a job offer, but I didn't have a vehicle. So he had been helping me out for a while.
Okay, so he's helping you.
So yeah, so I asked him for money to get a car. This first stimulus check that he sent back, I wasn't getting, but the third one, I had to file a tax return in order to get that, which was only $1,400.
Just a second. I don't care about your stimulus money. I don't want to
That
buy
was how
you
I
a
was supposed
car.
to pay him back.
I don't want to buy you a car.
But he bought me a car.
No,
with
no, no.
My stimulus money I was supposed
No.
to give him for only $1,400.
No. You have to understand something. You have no proof, and I actually believe him when I say he didn't cash your stimulus checks.
Yeah,
He returned them. You don't even think that he cashed them because
No.
that would have been a federal offense and he would have gone
Yeah,
to jail.
he didn't.
And you didn't want to go to jail, right?
No, ma'am.
And truth of the matter is, stimulus money is, in my view, not for anything other than try to keeping everything in balance while there was COVID. Now, you got out of jail. Owning a car is sort of a luxury. You have to have a car, you have to have insurance, you have to be able to keep it up. That's not what stimulus money was for. So let's go back. He didn't collect any of your money. He was nice enough to put in $50 here, $60 there, gave you a phone so you would be connected. Now you tell him that you need money for a car. On what date do you tell him you need money for a car?
On June 15th.
And he gave you $2,600.
Correct.
And that was in June of 2022.
Correct.
Now, I'd like to see the emails following up when he's asking you for repayment of that $2,600. Do you have any?
Yes, ma'am.
I'd like to take a look at it.
Deward produces documents, then hands them to Kevin. He brings them to Judy, who reviews them.
Where is the car now?
It was totaled. It was a recent car accident.
When?
December 2nd.
Who was driving it?
I was driving it.
Did you have insurance on it?
Yes.
Did you hit another car and the other car hit you?
The other car pulled out in front of me and I hit them. They were at fault.
The insurance payout on the claim? To whom?
To myself.
How much?
Just for the damage of the car, it was $3,200.
So what did you do with the money?
I bought a new vehicle.
What kind did you get?
2008 Pontiac G6.
How much did you pay for it?
I paid $2,700.
So if you gave him back his $2,600, you still would have had a down payment enough for that car.
I paid cash on this vehicle.
I know what you did, but if you had done the right thing, you would have paid him back his $2,600, and you would have had a down payment, and you would have been paying off the car.
So there was no agreement for me to pay the $2,600. It was to pay him back with my stimulus of only $1,400.
Well, I've read this here, and you know what I get out of these text messages back and forth? Something that people who are takers do all the time. They justify taking because you say, you're just so blank petty. You make more than enough, and I'm making $500 a week. I have real life problems. So you're saying that the money isn't really that important to you, and it's that important to me, and I have a child to take care of, and you don't. You make $500. You live alone, sir?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes. You live alone. You were a good sucker for a while, and now I'm not giving you back the money. I'm cutting you off. Did you change? Yes.
He continued to cash app her after the $2,600.
Up here.
Elena's friend, Sharona.
After June 15th, when he sent her the $2,600, he sends her unsolicited another $700 dating all the way to August 11th.
Well, that's terrific. Isn't he a nice person? She's been your best friend for 17 years.
18, yes, ma'am.
18 years. Do you work?
I do.
What kind of work do you do?
I work in healthcare.
You make a living?
I do.
You have a car?
I do.
You have a home?
I do.
Right. Why didn't you give her money?
I was in the middle of a divorce, and we were selling our home.
So the answer is you had other things. You work, that's 2 sources of income of her best friend for 18 years. And she could have come to you. And
she did, and I gave her money.
Okay, well, she seems to be, you know, you can sit down. She seems to be a taker. And if he gave her more money, even after this $2,600, he's not asking for that money back.
He also told me to keep the stimulus check to pay the car.
Oh, I'd like to
Yes.
see it. Not that it's important.
No, it is.
Because
He told me
I'm
to keep it.
Just a second, because I'm not. You didn't get another stimulus check.
No, I didn't get the stimulus.
No, you didn't get another.
That was the only stipulation to paying him back was with that.
No. No.
Yes.
Caption coming up.
He was tracking my iPhone. He was constantly blowing up my phone. He became a weirdo. He sent me an email.
Madam, I have to tell you something. It takes a weirdo to know a weirdo.
A courthouse. The Judy Justice logo appears. In the courtroom, Stewart and Elena.
Stuart Selman has accused his former friend, Elena Smith, of refusing to pay back a car loan. Elena claims the car was a gift after she was released from prison.
He was being a really nice guy. I sent you money so you and your daughter can do some stuff, like you can get some of your precious Papa John's. Seems like a nice guy.
She never asked for any of it. She even had him blocked
Just a second.
during that.
She spent it.
Yeah.
Just a second. She spent it. Do you know, there are times when I remember both myself and other family members erroneously received money. I don't know if it ever happened to you. Okay. Erroneously, a deposit comes into your checking account. You don't know where it comes from. Well, somebody put it in there mistakenly, right?
This wasn't mistaken.
Just a second. Same theory, madam. Somebody put it in there mistakenly. Well, you can either report it to the bank and say, I don't want any more of this money. It feels uncomfortable to me. Or you can say, listen, I'm going to hold this in my account and see if they come after it, see how long it takes them to find it, right? Or you can do the honest thing. You pick up the phone and you call and say, this money doesn't belong to me and I'm not going to spend it. Similarly, even though the money was unsolicited, your friend was a user. Your friend was a user. She started out by saying, people use these online websites for prisoners because they want stuff. Is that what she said in the beginning?
I also said I took myself off of it. I didn't put myself on it.
Just a second. Whether you did or did not, I don't know, but you certainly benefited from it.
How?
You took his money. Was somebody that you met, you took, according to now you said $50 twice is what he sent. Now your friend says, oh, no.
This is after.
Oh, no. I know exactly what you said, madam. I know exactly what you said. You said, no, that was after the $2,600. But for somebody who says, I wouldn't want to be in that site because other people were using that site to get people to give them things, and I took myself off that site, well, there's no further reason for you to stay on the site. You had your sucker.
No.
No. This is
Hold on.
after she came out of jail.
It took 3 years. 3 years for me to ask him for anything. So if I was going to use him, it would have been the entire time. I stopped having communication with him because he was tracking my iPhone. He was constantly blowing up my phone. He wanted to have me do inappropriate sexual things to him. He became a weirdo. He sent me an email.
Madam, I have to tell you something. It takes one to know one. It takes a weirdo to know a weirdo.
No.
If you're in prison.
No.
To me.
No.
Maybe not to
with
you.
The things that he asked.
Sit. If you're in prison, a woman in prison, you said the women in prison go on this line so that people, weirdos. I mean, I have a very large family. Really large extended family. I don't know one guy that cold turkey goes on a prison website to get a pen pal. I don't know. I'm sure that there are people that do that, but the people that do that are sort of the same people in my mind, and I know it's an old mind, are the same sort of people that have themselves shot out of a cannon or will jump off a 9th-story building with a parachute and see if it works. a little bit crazy. A little bit. You know, right? Even when you marry somebody who's doing a life term in prison, I think it's sort of an interesting story. I wouldn't recommend it for my granddaughter. So the fact that you did a substantial stint in prison, leaving a small daughter who was taken care of by whom?
Her father.
By her father. Still taken care of by her father?
Yes.
So you have a place in your life that's sad, that she's not with you, but it gives you the ability to create a life for yourself because you're free. So you can create a life for yourself. This man says, I was a very nice man. I made you more comfortable while you were in jail, a little more comfortable, and when you got out of jail, I also sent you money. Now, if you're telling me, and your friend is suggesting that he wanted some sort of a quirky quid pro quo, that's a reason to cut him off. It's not a reason not to pay him back. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $2,600. We're finished.
This court is adjourned.
Steward.
But we were just friends, you know. She just said a lot of things that weren't true. Like, I never asked anything from her, and I mean...
I thought he was lonely. He goes on vacations by himself. He has no friends.
I didn't keep cashing her after I was blocked and stuff, so...
Thought he wanted a friend, and he was trying to buy my friendship, obviously.
No reason, she's just making stuff up, no. Character assassination.
Right after my release from prison.
Be careful you loan money to.
Don't get a pen pal.
No more prison pen pals.
So this is something they don't teach in law school.
I'm ready.
If something doesn't make sense to an otherwise sensible person, you have to know there's a gimmick attached to it. You know, if something walks like a duck and quacks like a duck, it's a duck.
Yep.
Now it may be a mongoose, but if you'd be pretty safe in saying, you know, walks like a duck, talks like a duck. So it's not a duck, it's a mongoose. But if you come from a relatively simple background and you know a lot of people, and you don't know anybody who's pen pals with a prisoner. There are a lot of people, because there are lonely people. People in prison are lonely, and there are sometimes lonely women who start to communicate, even just from a sympathetic Good Samaritan kind of coming from that direction. People should know that if a stranger is giving you money, under those circumstances, there's got to be a catch there someplace.
I mean, I know my brain stems from your brain, so maybe we're just on the same track here, but I would never accept money from someone who's seemingly just giving it to me because. There's always a string, there's always an attachment, even from people that you know. But definitely with strangers, there's strings. Otherwise, why are they giving you the money in the first place?
Right.
I think she knew what she was doing, and even if she didn't sign herself up, even if we take her at her word on that, she knew what the people on that site were about.
Oh, well, she was very clear. Yep. She knew that people in prison were going to be entitled to get stimulus checks, but they were to be directed to the prison because the prison would take out 75% of those checks, which would cover your care. The government's still taking care of you, but they're not taking care of you twice.
Yeah, so basically the government is paying twice for you.
And so in order not to do that, she concocted this scheme.
Found someone who would be okay with the other end.
Sending it to them. And I'm sure that didn't come to her genius head alone. Somebody in prison said, this is what you do in order not to keep the 75%. If somebody else do it, your girlfriend, your sister, your mother, whoever it is.
If there's a system, people will find a way around it to benefit themselves more.
Title, Judy Justice.
Want justice? Go to judyjustice.drugs. Is suing his ex-wife, Lori Watsager, for the cost of tools she wrongfully sold.
Court come to order. All rise.
Have a seat, please.
Kevin approaches Judge Judy.
Hello, Judge. Case 2189, Scruggs versus Watsager.
Thank you.
Judy turns to Andrew.
Mr. Scruggs, you have brothers and sisters?
No, ma'am.
Were your father and your mother? Who predeceased whom?
My mother died when I was 17 years old, and my father died in 2019 after a long-time illness, and he had his tools at my property.
You and the defendant were married for 10 years.
Correct.
You separated in what year?
2016.
And when you left, she stayed in the house.
That's correct, Your Honor.
Sometime prior to 2016, according to you, you borrowed some tools of your father's.
That's correct. I actually
Is that correct?
That is correct.
And the tools that you borrowed from your father were left in the marital home 2016, 17, 18. Your father died in 2019. You were divorced in 2000.
We were divorced in 2019 was the final judgment.
And then things sort of got away from you. So now we're in 2023, and you want your father's tools back or money for them, according to you, $10,000 worth.
Yes, ma'am.
Ridiculous. Let's start out with ridiculous. Where were you in 2019?
2019 is when my father died, and shortly after he died, I was taking care of his affairs, and we still had an ongoing court case that consisted of our minor children at the time, and I was under advisement of my attorney.
Don't tell me what your attorney advised you. It's hearsay. You did nothing with regard to the tools. In what year did you borrow the tools from your father?
It was 2013. I brought the tools over to my storage shed, and...
Mr. Scruggs, you gotta let it go. You haven't had the tools in 7 years. You've been out of the house since 2016? 2016.
What, Your Honor?
And you've been, look at you, and you've been living. Who is this?
This is my current wife.
So, you got divorced, you remarried. When did you remarry?
I got remarried in 2018.
Well, so you found time to get married, right? Just a second. That's a yes or a no.
Yes,
you found time to get married.
Yes, ma'am.
Did you have a big wedding?
No, ma'am.
You had a small wedding. Do you have any children?
Yes, ma'am.
With your current wife?
Yes, ma'am.
How many?
One child.
How old?
She's 5.
So you managed to have a baby. Well, I'm suggesting to you, sir, how many different jobs did you have since 2016?
I've had 2 different employers.
Since 2016, so you also looked for another job and found another job. So let's see, you got married, you had a child, you changed jobs, but all of a sudden in 2023, the tools are important. Now, how many children did you and the defendant have?
2 children.
How old are they?
I have a 14-year-old and an 8-year-old.
You pay child support?
No, ma'am.
How come?
Because one of the children lives with me full-time.
For how long?
She's lived with me full-time for approximately 3 years.
But when you and the defendant separated, she was living with her mother.
Only for a short amount of time.
How long?
Probably about a year. And I paid support during that time.
And the other child?
Is 45-55 split.
So that's why you don't pay child support?
Correct.
And do you work?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, good. And at some point, so what do you want to say and why?
Just that the reason we were not able to do anything about the tools was that she had an order of protection.
The tools are stupid.
Was that she had an order of protection against him.
The tools are stupid. Orders of protection don't disqualify you from coming to small claims court.
They said that it wasn't able to.
Oh, no, that's what's a they? Oz? You were allowed to come for small claims court, file a petition and say, these tools belong to me. He didn't do it during the divorce. He didn't do it before your wedding. He didn't do it after your wedding. He didn't do it before your daughter was born. He didn't do it till after your daughter was born. She's now 5 years old. It's 10 years after the tools were moved from your father's house into the marital home. That would be a fair statement, 10 years. You said 2013, we're now in 2023.
Correct, and
Okay.
Your Honor, I do have here where my dad filed a police report where he was trying to recover the tools.
Well, unfortunately-
And the defendant here obviously lied to this officer here and told them that I didn't retrieve.
So what? I want you to forget $10,000, sir. It's not happening for you. Put a period. The only thing that I'm going to consider is she did, in fact, sell the tools. That she acknowledges. Now, she can't sell something that doesn't belong to her. And in what year did you sell the tools?
I sold the tools. Our divorce was signed in 2018. They had gotten married. He'd quit paying a mortgage, so I had to find a way to pay.
Just a second.
Yes, ma'am.
Can't you just tell me, in what year did you sell the tools?
It was on and off between August and October of 2018.
So you sold them piecemeal?
Yes, ma'am.
And you remember that, so you must have put an ad someplace.
I put an ad on Craigslist because I needed to pay the mortgage. And I didn't only sell his tools, I sold jewelry that was mine.
I get it, but you sold it.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Do you have an inventory about First of all, they weren't his tools, they were his father's tools. But I've asked him whether or not he was an only child. He is an only child, so he would stand to inherit these tools unless there was another child that he doesn't know about because his mother predeceased his father. So,
Your Honor, I do have an inventory from that.
I don't care. Understand this. I don't care.
Caption coming up.
How do you know it was $1,000 if you sold them over a 3 or 4 month period? And if the answer to that is I don't know, or I pulled out the number from my behind, then that's an answer. But not that I sold the tools to put food on the table for my children. That's not an answer.
And later today.
I do have a witness that I brought with me, my daughter, who actually did see.
You sure you want to do that? Are you sure you want to do that? Be very careful, Miss Vieira. Are you sure you want to put her there for me to question? Are you sure?
A courthouse. The Judy Justice logo appears. In the courtroom, Andrew and Lori.
Andrew Scruggs claims his ex-wife, Lori Watsager, wrongfully sold his father's tools and kept the money.
You let it lapse too long. Your father died 4 years ago. You and the defendant is separated for 6 years. The tools were there for 10 years. Courts don't care. We use a whole bunch of things, statute of limitations, we use latches, we use all kinds of terms when people don't act quickly to assert their rights to something. Because we don't want to be bothered with what happened 10 years ago and 12 years ago with this kind of nonsense. We do it with certain things that are important. Crimes are important. So sometimes we let statute of limitations get blurry, but not this. But you sold the tools. You had no right to sell the tools, so he's entitled to the money that you got for selling the tools. Now, according to you, you sold all the tools for how much?
$1,000.
And how do you know it was $1,000? Because you say you sold it over a period of time.
Because I have the paperwork where I had submitted so many payments to the mortgage because I sold them just to pay the mortgage and to feed the kids.
Listen, I'm going to get out my violin, madam. I asked you a specific question.
Yes, ma'am.
My specific question is, how do you know it was $1,000 if you sold them over a 3 or 4 month period? And if the answer to that is I don't know, or I pulled out the number from my behind, then that's an answer. But not that I sold the tools to put food on the table for my children. That's not an answer. How do you know it was $1,000?
Because I had put that money into the bank. I paid the mortgage with it.
Your Honor, you're exactly right. The defendant here is a liar and a manipulator.
Just a second.
And she will tell you whatever she thinks that you want to hear.
Well, that's true, sir. And I don't believe she sold the tools for $1,000, but I don't know that.
Because
and you wait,
just a second.
Just a second.
I
What?
guarantee you.
Oh,
I guarantee she made $13,000, $14,000.
No, that's possible, sir. Prove it. Proof. Just a second. It's your burden of proof. You have to prove to me that she sold them for $13,000. And even then, you're late in bringing this suit. But you can't prove that.
Well, because she is a manipulator, is why this ex parte order and
listen
all this.
To me. I don't care. You're not following me. Courts, not me personally. Courts. I am the court. We don't care because what you did was wait too long to assert a claim. You waited too long. According to you, you had COVID and the pandemic came in between and, you know, having another child and getting married to somebody else. All those were reasons you had personal issues why you didn't assert your rights in a timely fashion. So we're not going back to try to recreate something that you can't recreate. And neither can she, actually, because you don't have to keep track of something that happened 3-4 years ago.
Well, even in the agreed,
we're done. You have to understand.
Well, even our agreed judgment that she signed, I've texted her not 3 months ago trying to retrieve items.
Just a second. You have a judgment of divorce that says in the judgment of divorce she is to return the tools to you.
No.
Okay.
The tools are nothing in that judgment.
There's nothing. Okay. You sold them for $1,000?
Yes, ma'am.
You can't sell somebody else's property. And that's all that he can prove is what you say you sold them for. And I'm not sure that that's what you sold them for, but he waited too long. And the only thing that I can establish at this point is that you sold somebody else's tools for $1,000. That's it. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $1,000. We're finished.
This court is adjourned.
The defendant, she obviously is a liar and manipulator, and she got a lot more than even the $10,000. And these were what I considered family heirlooms.
No, actually, no. I've got the documents for that.
Even after my father died, I looked at her and said, you know, we need to just fix this. And I came to her and said, you know,
because he can't let me go.
If it's a matter of money, let me give you the money for the tools. And she still was selling the tools to, we think, her best friend.
Because they don't want me happy.
I'm sure glad that it's over, and hopefully we can coexist and take care of our son that we have together.
I'd like to be friends. I mean, it's for the children, anything to make the children happy.
Judy and Sarah.
You know what's more fascinating to me than anything else, and I have to when we leave today, I'm going to go back and look up the doctrine of latches.
It was a brief footnote, I think, in one of our case books.
Right, because we're talking 60 years ago when I went to law school, and I seem to remember you had both a statute of limitations, which was a formalized statute for certain causes of action, and you had to bring them within a certain period of time. That, I'm sure they taught you in law school. But I seem to remember, Sarah, there was a doctrine of latches which discusses why you're supposed to bring an action in a timely fashion.
More of a common sense argument as opposed to a
preservation of evidence, because people do away with it. And this is a perfect example.
I think they call it ripeness now, but same concept.
Maybe.
More of a way for judges like yourself to be able to use common sense in cases like this and say, there's no evidence that's going to be preserved 10 years later. You had all these opportunities. Common sense tells me, therefore, it's not ripe. And I think it's a good doctrine, because although there might not be a set statute for this particular cause of action, it doesn't mean that evidence just appears out of nowhere that you're going to be able to use.
That you don't preserve.
Exactly.
That you don't preserve it. And certainly, he made a whole lifetime for himself in 10 years. Divorced, remarried, had a child, had changed jobs, changed careers.
A lot can happen in 10 years.
Yeah, but what's not going to happen is you getting the tools back.
Yeah.
Case 2189, Hernandez versus Vieira. All parties, please step forward.
Sofia Hernandez is suing her dog sitter, Cherie Vieira, for vet bills after her dog was injured during Cherie's care.
Miss Hernandez, how old is your puppy?
She's 6 months, Your Honor.
And when she was 4 months old, you needed a home sitter for your dog. Or
Yes.
you needed a place to board her for a weekend, long weekend. You live on an Army base.
A naval base.
Naval base. Does the defendant live on the base as well?
Yes, Your Honor.
And she approached you or whatever and said that she was available for sitting. Is that what you do to make some extra money?
Yes, Your Honor.
And on the 22nd of December of last year, which is when this incident occurred, you dropped the dog off at the defendant's home.
December 16th.
Was the 16th?
Yes.
And when you dropped the puppy off at the defendant's home, she was in perfectly fine shape.
Yes.
She looked very sweet.
Thank you.
So what happened when she dropped the puppy off at your house?
Caption, coming up.
I want you to tell me something that I'm going to believe, that you and your mother were in the room with your 10-year-old sister, and you saw what happened with the dog.
Yeah.
Just a second. I want you to make sure that that's what you're telling me.
A courthouse. The Judy Justice logo appears. In the courtroom, Sofia and Cherie.
Sofia Hernandez claims her dog sitter, Cherie Vieira, is responsible for vet bills after her dog Dolce was injured during Cherie's care.
Because Ms. Hernandez has an outstanding vet bill for surgery on the dog's leg, which was broken, while in your care.
Yes, Your Honor.
So why don't you tell me how that happened?
Miss Hernandez brought Dolce to our house. We took her in, and we had also another dog.
I want you to tell me, you. When you say you took her in, did you or somebody else?
It's a family effort. My children also help take care of the dogs. I started watching dogs because my youngest child was deathly afraid of dogs. She was bit by a dog at the age of 2. So we started this so she could learn how to take care of dogs properly, know their signs and things like that. And we took Dolce into my daughter's room.
Which daughter?
Into my youngest daughter's room.
Is that you?
I'm the oldest.
You're the oldest. And how old is your youngest daughter?
She's 10.
Okay, so once you took her into your daughter's room, She was alone with the puppy?
No, all three of us were in the room. What we like to do is
No, I don't want you to tell me what you like to do. Okay. I want you to be consistent with what you put in your answer. You were all in your daughter's room?
Yes.
Is that what you're telling me?
Yes, ma'am.
Just 1 second.
Judy puts on her glasses, then consults a document.
Okay. So your husband was with another dog in the yard?
Yes.
So I brought this dog into my daughter's room, your 10-year-old daughter's room, to settle down.
Yes, Your Honor.
And then you don't know what happened because you weren't watching.
I was actually...
No, you were not watching. That's what it says here.
Well, I was taking pictures.
It doesn't make any difference. You weren't watching. You don't know what happened. If you were taking pictures that would be on your camera.
I have pictures here of Dolce that I was actually sending to
No,
Mr.
I don't
Hernandez.
care. It would be on your camera if you were taking pictures. And if you were taking pictures, then you would have exactly what happened with the dog that caused the dog to have a broken leg. But you don't have those pictures. Am I correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
So that you were not watching and you did not see what happened at the moment the dog was injured?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay.
But I do have a witness that I brought with me, my daughter, who actually did see as I was sending pictures to Ms. Hernandez.
You sure you want to do that? Are you sure you want to do that? Be very careful, Miss Vieira. Are you sure you want to put her there for me to question? Are you sure? Are you sure?
Okay.
Yeah.
Yes, Your
I don't
Honor.
I don't think so. But it's your choice. Let's go. I want you to tell me something that I'm going to believe, that you and your mother were in the room with your 10-year-old sister and you saw what happened with the dog.
Yeah.
Just a second. I want you to make sure that that's what you're telling me. So you were in the room?
Yes, I was.
Okay. Your first name is?
Abigail.
I'd like to see a picture of Abigail in the room with the dog when you were sending pictures, allegedly, to the plaintiff of the dog. I just want to see pictures of her in the room.
Your Honor, I did not make pictures of those.
Why not? She was there. You were taking pictures of the dog. I assume your 10-year-old's room is not the size of this courtroom. So if you were taking pictures, Abigail would be in those pictures.
Your Honor, I actually have a picture of her leg after I was bit by Dolce.
I don't care after you were bit by Dolce. You were bit by the puppy because she was injured.
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay. That was after she was injured.
Yes.
I want to see a picture of your daughter that you were taking pictures of, allegedly to send to the plaintiff to show her how the dog was adjusting.
I do not have pictures of that,
Right.
Your Honor.
Yeah. Miss Vieira, do you want to know the truth? I don't believe you were in the room with your daughter, either one of them, and the puppy. I think that you left the puppy with your 10-year-old, and you don't know what happened. That's what I believe. And whether I believe, and it's accurate or not accurate, the dog was injured in your care. So you're responsible for the surgical bill. It's that simple. Dog got a broken leg in your care with enough adults there to watch the dog, your husband, the older daughter, and you put her in the room with your 10-year-old because you thought it would be cute. Your 10-year-old wanted to play with her. That's what happened. Can I see the vet bill, please?
Yes, Your Honor. I have the urgent care bill and the surgery bill as well.
Sophia hands a document to Kevin, who brings it to Judy for review.
So the invoice was $58.18?
For the surgery.
And $862. $66.08, judgment for the plaintiff. We're done.
This court is adjourned.
You know, I'm happy because those vet bills are really high. You know, it's not something that you could take on at the time.
I was in the room with the dog. The dog jumped from the floor, and it was a freak accident. But
my dog was healthy, you know. She had just been at the vet. She's gotten her shots. She was healthy.
I still don't know. I researched online. I think maybe that the dog already had an injury prior. She was at my house 25 minutes.
I would never drop off my dog like that.
She jumped up to retrieve a toy out of my daughter's hand from the floor, a fluffy carpet, and she landed and cried.
With a pre-existing condition, I would watch her myself.
About 3 minutes after, I called her mom to let her know that she was hurt, injured.
You know, my heart dropped. You know, I was upset we didn't go on the trip, but she's my baby. Turned around.
She wanted to know how bad it was because she wanted to go on her trip, and I told her it was bad enough for her dog to bite me.
We took her straight to the urgent care.
I asked her to come back to get her dog. I didn't want to move the dog, so she came back and had us bring the dog out.
She had a fractured leg.
Freak accident, kind of feel like, I don't know, It wasn't fair.
They didn't give me one. They just ignored my messages asking for payment.
I'm glad the dog's okay.
Dilta's great. Her leg is healed. She's on a recovery program.
Judy and Sarah.
So, no issue?
Simple.
Dogs in your care? The dog didn't break its leg itself?
Yep.
You know, common sense dictates to me that they brought the puppy in to play with the 10-year-old. Otherwise, they would have had photographs of the other daughter in the room. It didn't happen, but it really doesn't matter because
no bad intentions, no, you know, nothing was done on purpose, but
no, but it was negligent. Sure. Because if you allow
negligence
a 10-year-old,
if a dog breaks a leg, it doesn't break it on its own. Yeah.
It's your fault.
Title, Judy Justice.
Want justice? Go to Judy Justice. Patricia Franchini and her husband Giovanni Nunez are suing their neighbor, Scott Ellum, for the cost of a baby macaw bird.
Court come to order. All rise.
Judge Judy enters.
Have a seat, please.
Kevin approaches.
Hello, Judge.
Hello, Kevin.
Case 2194, Franchini Nunez versus Ellen.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Miss Nunez?
Yes.
Your husband?
Yes, ma'am.
You and Mr. Ellum?
Ellum, Your Honor.
Ellum are neighbors.
Yes, ma'am.
And you have backyards that are joined, separated only by a fence.
Yes, ma'am.
What kind of fence?
It looks plastic. I'm not sure.
Who has a picture of the fence?
Scott hands a document to Kevin.
And you each have, as would happen, dogs at the same breed.
No, ma'am.
What do you have?
I have a Shetland sheepdog and a Dutch shepherd, ma'am.
And what do you have?
I have shepherd mixes.
How many dogs?
2, Your Honor.
And you have 2?
Yes, ma'am.
This is what the case is about. This is the fence. It's not a chain link fence. It's either a wooden or a plastic fence. And you can see that underneath this fence, there's a board here where I assume there's a hole because the dogs dig holes to get to each other. Is that a fair statement?
Yes, Your Honor.
Fair statement?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, good. Case is about an incident that occurred. You've been neighbors for a while, and you have had this dog digging also for a while. Also correct?
Yes, ma'am. The defendant's dog.
Okay. This incident happened on the 16th of December, 2022. Yes. Why don't you tell me what happened?
I got up that morning to let my dogs out.
Both?
One dog. Okay, so the day started out, me and my husband woke up. My husband had to go get a tire fixed, so he took my smallest dog, my Shetland sheepdog, with him. I remained home with my 2 children.
Slowly. Okay.
Sorry.
How old are your kids?
They are 6 and 7, ma'am.
Okay.
I remained home with my children because they were ill, and I had an appointment with them later on that day. My husband went to go fix the tire at 8 a.m. I got up in the morning to let my dog out.
Got up in the morning to let your dog out?
Yes.
The shepherd mix?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
I let her out, and then she came back in, and I was cleaning, and my 2 children were in my master suite with my macaw, Penelope.
Okay, that's what the case about. This case is about a macaw.
Yes,
the
ma'am.
cost of a macaw.
Yes.
Which is a bird.
Yes, ma'am.
Go ahead.
My kids were in the master suite. I opened the door. I'm out there cleaning. I let my dog out of my...
And the dog came back.
Sliding door. She came back. Well, then she stayed by the door. Now, none of my windows have curtains, so I can...
Just a second. So then, but she stayed by the door, but she was inside?
She came back inside. I shut the door. This was 20 minutes went by. She's by the door. She's crying. I told her we would play later. I assumed she had to go to the restroom again, and I let her out again. She stood on the step, but she didn't go further than that, and she was just kind of staring out. From the left side of the house is where the defendant's dog, Bella, charged in my home. And then when I tried to grab her...
When you say his dog, Bella,
yes,
came into the side and ran into the house, that doesn't... Somehow, if the dog, Bella, came out and your dog was on the step, it would seem to me would stop on the step at first to sniff, play with your dog if your dog is sitting outside. I mean, I have dogs. Would go over to that dog first, not run into your house.
You would think that, ma'am, but she's been in our house 3 times before this because I had to return her to the defendant on 3 separate occasions. And she didn't do that day. When she came in the backyard on the 3 other instances, I remember the very first time someone from that household came to my door, and I knew the dog was in my backyard, but I didn't open my door. I left her back there. I figured they'd come. They did. And I said, hold on a second. I put my kids, I put my Sheltie in the room with my bird, and I shut the door.
Are we talking about the same date, December?
We're talking about other days that I brought.
Okay, let's not go on tributaries.
Yes, ma'am.
What's your dog's name?
Lucy.
Lucy. So the dog just went straight into your house. And what did Lucy do?
Lucy charged after her and tried to attack her.
Okay, so The dog has been in your house before. Have there been incidents with the two dogs?
No, ma'am. The defendant's dog is submissive to my dog. So the only time I brought the dog in my home was when I shut all the doors to all my bedrooms. Someone from the defendant's home came, I opened up the front door, brought her in, and she went straight out because there was nowhere else for her to go.
Okay, so it's your dog that is Lucy is the more aggressive dog.
Lucy's never been aggressive with her. I believe that Lucy was aggressive with her that day because of the way she came in the house.
When you say Lucy was aggressive, what did she do?
She started growling at her, and she started to...
In the house?
Yes.
Now they're in the house. Put a period there. We have the two dogs in your house.
Yes.
And they are growling at each other. So that's not a happy picture because they're big dogs.
Yes.
Now let's get to the bird. You purchased a macaw.
Yes, ma'am.
You have a photograph of what they look like?
Yes.
When did you purchase the macaw?
I purchased her with payments over time. I completed the purchase at the end of September 30th.
This is the macaw.
Yes, ma'am. That's my
A parrot.
Yes, ma'am.
In December, how old was she?
She was going to be 8 months.
And how much did you pay for her?
I paid $4,320.08 for Penelope.
Okay, can I see the bill?
Absolutely, ma'am. Her birth certificate along
She's
with
beautiful.
all of the...
Pretty bird.
Thank you, ma'am.
Patricia weeps. Caption, coming up.
She bolted in my master's suite where my kids were.
Lucy?
No, Bella.
Bella.
Bella did. And I went in there, like, I heard my kids screaming, Bella is killing Penelope.
And later today.
Is there something wrong with your mind?
No.
Did you just say to me, am I crazy? Did he say he owed back child support?
Yes.
To her?
Yes.
A courthouse. The Judy Justice logo appears. In the courtroom, Patricia, Giovanni, and Scott.
Patricia Franchini claims her neighbor, Scott Elam, owes for the cost of a baby macaw bird killed by Scott's dog.
Tell me what got you interested in the macaw.
Earlier this year, full disclosure, ma'am, ended up in the hospital very sick for 2 weeks, and I was going through a lot, and I started volunteering at the bird store down by my home, and I really liked the Hans macaw because my grandma had one when she was younger.
Slowly.
Yes, ma'am. And so I spent a lot of time bonding with the birds there, and my husband and I thought it would be good and therapeutic for me, given what I had been going through.
Okay, now the two dogs are in your house, sort of fighting with each other.
They did not fight, ma'am. I did not
Well,
allow them to.
growling.
Yes, ma'am.
Growling at each other. And tell me what happened with Bella and the macaw.
I tried to calm Lucy down, and my master door was open. Everything was happening so fast. I know I'm describing it slowly, but it was quick. She bolted in my master's suite where my kids were.
Lucy?
No, Bella.
Bella.
Bella did. I heard my kids screaming, Bella is killing Penelope. And
that's the bird?
Yes. And I tried to get to Bella. I couldn't. My dog was standing in between us. And while I was with the two dogs, then my son thought, oh, I'm going to go get her. And that's when Bella kind of snapped at him and she scratched him. And so then I couldn't get her. I couldn't. She literally was like chewing her up and like dropping her and like biting her again, you know? And it wasn't until my Dutch Shepherd bit her on the nose that she finally let her go. And I swooped and I grabbed her. I booked it to my pantry in my kitchen with my kids. And Lucy stayed in front of the door. And I have a door on it. And I just stayed in there. And I called my husband and I was screaming on the phone. He got home maybe, I don't know how long. It probably really only was like 5 or 10 minutes, but it felt like forever. She was like
and where
dying
was
in my
Bella
arms.
during this time?
Bella was around the pantry with the bird in her mouth. And then I took the bird from Bella and then I put her to the cage. And then Lucy just stayed by the parrot. And then I opened the door and talked to the kids. They were all hysterical and I was trying to understand what she was saying.
Where was Bella?
Bella was in the kitchen with a parrot.
And how did Bella get back to the defendant?
I walked her over.
How did you do that?
Kind of like how a mother pup grabs her by the neck. I grabbed her by the neck and I walked her over.
Okay, your dog killed their bird in their house. And?
Your Honor, the hole that allowed Bella to get into their backyard was primarily dug by their dog over the course of many, many months.
And?
I continued to repair my side of the fence. Their dog continued to dig the hole, destroyed wood that I had put there. The dog got through. In that story, it's sad, but that's not the story that he gave to my wife when he came pounding on my door.
Well, you can't tell me what he said to your wife, sir.
Okay, that's fair, Your Honor. I can tell you what he said to me. I called him.
You can tell me what he said to you.
instantly.
Just you have to understand, he wasn't home when your dog got into the house. He came home at the end of the episode. Do you understand that?
I understand that.
Okay. Understanding that, you can tell me your version of what he said to you.
What they both said to me, I've had conversations with the both of them since this has happened.
Okay.
The story has changed 2 or 3 times. First, it was she was doing something in the backyard and Bella just came charging in and basically knocked her out of the way, got inside. The first story was, I assumed the entire time that he was home because when he was talking to me over the phone.
I don't care what you assumed. He wasn't home when it started. Your problem, sir, is, first of all, you were aware of the hole. I don't care who dug it. You were aware of it. And it's not the first time that the dog has gone onto their property. Has their dog got onto your property?
No, because I fixed my side of it. I take care
so
of
the
my
answer
house.
is the answer is no.
Correct.
Who do you live in your house with?
My wife and my children.
How old are your children?
I have a 1-year-old. I have a 7-year-old.
Let us say it's their fault that the hole existed that allowed your dog to get out. But you were aware of it because it had happened before that they had to bring your dog back. That a fair statement?
That's fair, yes.
Okay. Let us assume that it was your dog that was responsible for the hole. And their dog, despite the fact that yours was a better digger, you know, having dogs and having a fence, they both dig at the same place. They may not have fixed their side, but they both dig at the same place, trying to get to each other. Whose fault do you think it would be if their dog created the major part of the hole, got into your yard, and bit your 1-year-old? Whose fault would that be?
I think it would be equally our faults.
Really?
Absolutely, yeah. For
Really?
For digging, for not taking care of your property, absolutely.
Really? I actually find that answer sort of bizarre.
I would take responsibility if my child got hurt due to something that I didn't take care of. Absolutely, I would.
Well, you may feel guilty about it, but you would certainly want them to pay all of your child's medical bills.
No, I would not.
Well, then you're a better person than the law is, sir, because your dog was outside of your control, clearly, because it got into their house. It was something that you were aware was a possibility, no matter who dug the hole, so you were aware because it had happened before, and your dog caused damage. And the damage your dog caused, and I'm putting the emotional distress, these 2 young children and the plaintiff, seeing your dog kill this bird that they had been paying off so much per month for a very long time. Putting aside that, they paid $4,300 for this property that your dog destroyed. And that's your fault. You're responsible for that. So if, because of this problem, and your dog has a problem, and their dog has not come onto your property, but your dog comes onto their property, then you have to say, you know what? I'm not letting my dog go out unsupervised because it has created trouble in the past. May have been their fault because they didn't fill in the hole as quickly or as carefully as you did. But you knew that that happened, and you're responsible for the damage. It would be no different than if the dog ran inside, and as she was trying to get the dog bit her, and she had to have surgery, and she had to have a plastic surgeon deal with reconstruction. Who do you think would be responsible for that? That would be you. And just because it's a poor little bird that happened to be the victim of this doesn't make you any less responsible. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $4,300. We're finished.
Court is adjourned.
Outside the courtroom, Patricia, then Scott.
I feel like it was justice for Penelope.
When a homeowner doesn't take care of their property and someone lets another dog in their house, they shouldn't be blaming other people for that.
It was extremely difficult to hear my kids screaming like that and do nothing to calm them down.
The judge's ruling is the judge's ruling.
I hope that he never gets another pet again.
I don't think there's gonna ever be a relationship, which is totally fine by me.
Sarah and Judy.
One of the most interesting things about that case is I don't think that the defendant's dog, Bella, was a quote-unquote aggressive dog. But I didn't get a hint that the other dog was even aggressive, even by the fact that the husband was able to walk her back by the scruff of the neck. If that was an aggressive dog, they would just turn right around and give you a nice little snap. So that says to me that although the dog didn't obviously do it on purpose, what are you gonna do? But you're responsible as a defendant. You let your dog out. It's a act that's happened more than once. You were on notice.
Dog is out of your control. You're responsible. That's the bottom line.
Case 2202, Young versus Buchanan. All parties, please come forward.
Essie Young is suing her granddaughter's father, Keith Buchanan, for an unpaid loan she gave him for a car.
Judy.
Miss Young, the defendant is married to your daughter?
No.
He is the father of your grandchild?
Yes.
Do he and your daughter live together?
No.
Where does your daughter live?
In Maple Shade.
Were they ever married?
No.
They have one child?
Yes.
Who's 12?
Yes.
Did you live together with Miss Young's daughter?
Well, at one point, she lived with me in Maple Shade.
How long ago?
This was 2010, 2011.
You mean when your daughter was a baby?
Yes.
How long have you had custody of your granddaughter?
11 years. My daughter never stayed with him.
I don't know that. He says she did.
Yeah, but she did.
Caption, coming up.
So she got that money that he owed her for child support, for taking care of his daughter, and he wrote that off of the loan. Is that what you're telling me?
Yes.
Oh, my God.
A courthouse. The Judy Justice logo appears. In the courtroom, Essie and Keith.
Essie Young claims her granddaughter's father, Keith Buchanan, refuses to pay back a loan she gave him for a car.
This is a very simple case, because I don't have to get into the history of why you have custody of your granddaughter.
Yes.
Mr. Buchanan, according to you, asked you for a loan to buy a car.
Yes.
When was that?
Before he got it, he was calling every day.
Did you maintain a relationship with him?
Yes and no.
Would he visit his daughter?
No.
Ever?
Once in a blue moon.
Okay.
I usually have to take my granddaughter to see him.
Okay. It was sort of odd to me if he was never married to your daughter, so they didn't have a formalized relationship. They don't live together now. Why would you loan him? I know that you did.
Mm-hmm.
Why would you loan him money?
My granddaughter.
Except you're a very nice person.
My granddaughter asked me to. She said, "Grandma, would you please help my dad?" I told her I really don't want to. And she said, "Could you please do it for me?"
Oh, different story.
Yes, and then I said, okay.
Okay, so you discussed with your daughter during one of these visits that you needed money to buy a car?
No, never did.
You never did?
No.
Who is this person?
That's my wife.
Does she work?
Yes.
Do you work?
Yes.
Well, why would you ask your daughter's grandmother, who takes care of her, who's always taken care of her? You don't, neither does her mother. Why would you not ask your wife's family? You both work, take out a loan. Why would you go to her and ask her for money?
But it was a situation that happened and I lost my previous car. I contacted Essie, I talked to Essie.
No, I'm asking you why you would ask her. What would prompt you to call her? Doesn't she have parents?
Yes, you do. I did that, and at the time they couldn't help.
So you went to her parents first?
I went to her family first. They said, sorry, they can't help at the time. So Mrs. Young was my last resource, which I didn't want to use, but at the time I had to use it because I had no other choice. I had to hurry up and get a vehicle.
Well, why didn't you take out a loan?
Actually, I couldn't.
What do you mean you couldn't?
Because my credit's not all that great. I tried to take out loans. I tried to go.
Does your wife have a car?
Yes, she has a car.
Okay, why don't you use her car?
She worked. I work an hour and a half away from home, and she worked too, and we worked around the same time.
How much money did you borrow from her?
$2,000.
How much did you give back?
$912.
$912. Show me.
Keith hands documents to Kevin, who brings them to Judy.
On page 4, May 5th, 2022, she got $912.
From what?
From my taxes. And we agreed on once I filed my taxes, I would give her $2,000 for my taxes. She got $912 from them, that same taxes, because I owed backup child support. So she got on top of my regular payment for child support plus $912.
What? Is there something wrong with your mind?
No.
Did you just say to me, am I crazy? Did he say he owed back child support?
Yes.
And so she got that money that he owed her for child support, for taking care of his daughter, and he wrote that off of the loan. Is that what you're telling me?
Yes.
Oh, my God. That's the dumbest thing I ever heard. Well, not ever. I should take that back. It's the dumbest thing I've heard today.
Sarah nods.
If you owed her back child support, how much did you owe her?
I only owed her $900.
In back child support?
Yes.
Okay.
That I fully forgot.
Just a second. You owed her that money. In addition to owing her that money, you owed her $2,000. Do you understand that? So you owed her $900 plus $2,000. Are you not following me? Am I getting something wrong here?
I'm with you.
Are you following that? That's either a yes or a no.
No, I'm not.
Okay, well, I'm going to repeat it again. What you said was they took money out of your taxes for back child support, $900. So that means you paid her $900 of the $2,000. That's what your argument is.
Yes.
Am I getting that?
Yes.
You already owed her the $900.
I had no awareness that I owed her $900. When I found out that $900 got taken out the taxes, I had no tax coming back. I was like, look, you got $900. You're going to have to give me time. And that's when it went south.
Oh, you got $900 that I owed you anyway. Now I need more time. Oh, my God. How is your granddaughter in school? She do okay?
Yes, she
does
well.
Okay?
Yes.
Okay. Either his math skills or his moral skills are somehow lacking.
It's the moral.
Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $2,000. We're finished. Thank you very much.
This court is adjourned.
Outside the courtroom, Essie then Keith.
I think the judge seen right through him.
He was going to be miserable, so I just let him be miserable.
No one thinks like that.
As long as she go about her life, I go about my life, leave my family alone.
I just think he was hustling me.
Only contact me when he got something to do with my daughter, that's it.
I don't want anything to do with him either.
Sarah and Judy.
So initially, I may have been a little lost. It took me some time to get there. But I thought that what the defendant was saying was that he was expecting $2,000 on his tax returns. So he told plaintiff, when I get it, I'll repay you the $2,000. And then in his mind, when the $900 left the account, he didn't know that that was not going to be there for the back child support. So he only had, the $900 and change left to give her. I was like, okay, that makes sense. He thought that it would be the full $2,000. Come to find out, he thinks that the back child support is what fulfills his
loan
obligation, which wasn't even the full amount, not even half. And all to someone that has been raising your child for 12 years.
He's probably worse at math than I am.
Title, Judy.
Marked a location. Marked a location. Marked a location. No. And the match is over. Is in the lead. Watch out! Watch out! Welcome to PUBG Mobile.